Massive surge in COVID cases after easing zero COVID policies to stop the virus spread. And China's population dropped with its lowest birth rate ever recorded.
China says its mainland had 850,000 fewer people at the end of 2022 than the previous year. That still leaves a population of 1.41 billion people. But this is the year India is expected to overtake China as the most populous nation on earth.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Shots rang out in Fort Pierce, Florida, at a Martin Luther King Jr. Day event at a park that included a car show.
There was a disagreement of some sort between two parties, and unfortunately, they chose to resolve that with guns.
St. Lucie County Chief Deputy Brian Hester says 8 people were shot. One's in critical condition. 4 others were hurt in the chaos after the shooting. No one's been arrested. In California, deputies are searching for 2 suspects in a mass murder at a home near Visalia.
6 people left dead, including a 17-year-old mother and her 6-month-old baby. Several of the victims were shot in the head, including the baby, who was being cradled in the arms of her mom. It appeared she'd been trying to run away, the mom, when they were gunned down. Deputies found them in a ditch outside the home.
Fox's Jackie Ibanez. On Thursday, President Biden will go to California to survey damage from a wave of storms that left 19 people dead. The forecast is for better weather this week. On Monday Night Football, the end of the wild card playoff weekend and the end of an era, maybe. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost to the Dallas Cowboys 31-14. Then the 45-year-old quarterback was non-committal about his future.
This has been a lot of focus on, this game. So, yeah. Let's just be one day at a time.
Brady unretired in March. Now he's a free agent. Could go to a new team if he returns next season. America's listening to Fox News.
41 degrees at 5:02 on AM 560, The Answer. And good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. The Cook County Sheriff's Office is confirming that the remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. Cheyenne Cluse was 22 when she was last seen leaving her home in November of 2017. Investigators later said she went to Chicago on December 1st of that year. The Cluse family announced her remains have been discovered. However, it's not known where the remains were found. Newly elected Congressman Jonathan Jackson is throwing his support behind a candidate in the Chicago mayoral race this morning. Sun-Times is reporting the son of the civil rights icon, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, has endorsed Brandon Johnson. Johnson's handlers in the Chicago Teachers Union had already endorsed the activist candidate. Cook County Medical Examiner's Office revealing the name of the teen killed over the weekend in a shooting in Des Plaines. Justice Broadway Williams was found shot Sunday night in the 1300 block of Perry Street. Chicago police are searching for suspects in several break-ins at businesses on the city's far northwest side. Here's AM 560's Nikki Whaley.
In each incident, they broke the front glass door of a business, entered, then took the money from either a register or a office. All the robberies took place on January 12th in the overnight hours between 2 to 5 a.m. Detectives say that they're looking for several suspects who may be driving either a black Jeep Cherokee or a gray Honda Accord. Anyone with any information is urged to contact police. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley.
University of Chicago faculty members are going on strike today. The work stoppage comes after the union representing faculty and university leadership failed to reach a contract agreement yesterday. Both sides have agreed to resume bargaining in the next 24 hours. The power is back on at all buildings at Illinois State University's campus. Some buildings on the Bloomington campus experienced power outages yesterday. Electricians have been called in to make repairs. Today is the first day of the spring semester. With the strong majority of Illinois sheriffs saying they will not enforce Illinois' gun ban and registry, the state's attorney general tries to argue there are other ways to do the job. AM 560's Greg Bishop has more on the brewing controversy in Springfield.
Sheriffs and state's attorneys from across the state have said they won't enforce a gun ban and registry, saying it violates Illinoisans' rights in the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Absent a court order, the ban is law. Attorney General Kwame Raoul said Friday if local law enforcement won't act, someone will.
As law enforcement agencies, there's overlap in jurisdiction as well. So if they don't do their jobs, there are other people available to do the job.
Rhonda Izell, who was a lead plaintiff in a case several years ago successfully challenging Chicago gun restrictions, said gun owners in Illinois need to stand up for their rights.
They don't care what color you are, where you reside, where you live, where you work. Their goal is to disarm America, and they made that very clear.
I'm Greg Bishop.
Lawsuits seeking to block the measure are expected shortly in state and federal courts from a myriad of different gun owner and pro-Second Amendment groups. One man is dead, another wounded following a shootout during a home invasion over the weekend in St. Charles. Police say officers spotted Pangiotis Kutrumbis dragging James Garridini out of an apartment Saturday night. Garridini died at the hospital after suffering a gunshot wound to the chest. Investigators believe at least 3 entered the apartment, zip-tied the hands of several people, and demanded items. Maryville High School in Indiana, mourning the death of a football player, 18-year-old Jonathan Brown, is dead after being shot Friday night outside a restaurant in Homewood. The second 18-year-old from Maryville was also wounded in the Illinois shooting. The sheriff in Kenosha County says deputies opened fire on a Wisconsin suspect who pointed a weapon at them. The suspect is now in the hospital. Deputies are on leave as the investigation continues. It happened yesterday during the afternoon near Highway 45 in the town of Paris. Cowboys punched their ticket to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs with a 31-14 rout of Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in Tampa. Blackhawks will try to get back in the win column when they host Buffalo at the UC tonight. Number 23, Illinois, dominates the second half during a 78-60 victory over Minnesota at the Barn. The Illini host Indiana Thursday. Houston's Cougars are once again the top team, according to the latest college basketball poll. Kansas, Purdue, Alabama, UCLA round out the top 5. And look at that. 16-4 St. Mary's Gales entering the top 25. And watch out for this name. Very good player named Aiden Mahaney. The news is service of the AM560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM560 brands, including Proft University. Go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka isn't sweeping this under the rug.
Classified documents from Biden's time as vice president discovered at Penn Biden Center. When is the FBI going to raid the many homes of Joe Biden, perhaps even the White House? That's an interesting question. These documents were definitely not declassified.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, it's Amy, and MyPillow is excited to bring you their biggest bedding sale ever. Get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. Folks, they look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. So trust me, these sheets are ridiculously comfy. Rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. They also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles. They even have blankets for your pets. Get duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more, all with the biggest discounts ever. MyPillow is also extending their money-back guarantee until March. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. Use promo code Amy, and you'll get huge discounts on all MyPillow bedding products, including those amazing Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98 while quantities last. And don't forget to use promo code Amy for the best possible discounts available.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
It's 5:10. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, and it is a service of Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns. Tune in Saturdays at noon. Enjoy weekly discussions to a secure retirement. Edens and Kennedy are off on time. Express lanes on the Kennedy outbound closed for now, expected to reopen. But right now, the Ike inbound is at 22-390 to the old post office. Stevenson is fine. DuSable Lakeshore Drive looks to be running without delays. The Reagan, the Veterans, all running without too many delays so far this morning. I-65 busy in northwest Indiana. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Clouds and a stray shower this morning. Breezy day, high 42. Cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Low tonight 34, high tomorrow 40. Rain or snow shower on Thursday. Breezy and a high near 40. Plan with confidence. Check AccuWeather.com today. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
41 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
If you are a first-time home buyer, which means you have not owned a home within the past 3 years, then you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. I have very, very, very valuable news for all first-time home buyers. Due to the rapid increase in interest rates last year, many first-time home buyers couldn't afford to purchase a home. And Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac want to turn those numbers around and help first-time home buyers qualify with lower interest rates. If you earn less than or equal to $105,700 and have not owned a home during the past 3 years, Fannie and Freddie are incentivizing you to purchase a home with lower rates. No, I'm not making this up. To see if you qualify, give me a call now at 855-56-DAVID or visit our website, 56david.com. That number, once again, is 855-563-2843 or visit our website, 56david.com. Lower.com, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061.
Hi, I'm Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, and I'm currently planning my 2023 auction calendar now. I want to talk to you about items that you are considering selling. You already know that Donnelly Auctions specializes in things like guns and military, automobiles and motorcycles, and Petroliana. But I want to help you sell what you have collected. We have sold collections of police and fire badges, coin collections, and we've set a world record price for our last license plate auction. I may not be a magician, but I can make your collection disappear and reappear as money in your wallet. Donnelly Auctions is a worldwide marketplace with warehouses of collectibles. If you're selling, we can get you top dollar. Monthly auctions you can view and bid online as well. Contact me at 815-923-7000 or through our website at DonnellyAuctions.com for a free, no-obligation consultation. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth, talks about the importance of tax planning in retirement.
A qualified financial planner can take you through all the steps to show you every single legal way you can use to reduce and minimize your state income taxes across the board so that, again, you keep more of your money and your family keeps more of your money.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
At Inspired Closets Chicago, there's no place they can't transform. Life is busy, and an organized space helps calm the chaos and bring order to your family's daily grind. Inspired Closets Chicago takes care of everything from start to finish. From your free in-home design consultation to developing your 3D design through installation, Inspired Closets Chicago makes it easy so you can enjoy the process. Learn more at inspiredclosetchicago.com or visit one of their showrooms for inspiration. Proud sponsor of Food for the Poor.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. 1 million children have fled the public schools since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the Wall Street Journal. It's not hard to guess why. During the pandemic, parents finally got a peek inside the schoolhouse doors, and what they saw was grim. Too much wokeness and too little learning. That, plus the shutdowns themselves, driven by teachers' unions and extreme COVID policies embraced by many school districts, all contributed to the exodus. There's a warning here for the politicians. American parents aren't pleased with the education their children are getting. Legislators have two choices. They can fight the teachers' unions leaders to try to fix the public schools, or they can pass legislation to offer poor and middle-class kids the same educational choice rich kids get. The decision is theirs. But it's clear the status quo simply isn't an option. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here. And if you're a small business owner or make the marketing or advertising decisions for your business, then listen up.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering because of food insecurity. They simply don't know where they will find their next meal.
Here's how your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air right here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
And through the generosity of your business, you'll be helping to feed more than 70 children for a year.
To take advantage of this deal, just call Anjanette Natkowski at 847-472-8951 or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, it's Dan Proft. You know, I like to speak the truth and offer solutions. Well, if you have high blood pressure or know someone who does, I have the helps me keep my blood pressure in check. 120 Life. It's a natural juice drink you drink every day without the side effects of pills. I'm drinking it. I love it, and you will too. It keeps me energized. It keeps my blood pressure in check. The truth is, there are easy, natural ways to keep your blood pressure in check, and one of them is 120 Life. Check it out and tell them Dan Proft sent you. Visit 120life.com. That's 120life.com. You can order a 2-week trial pack of their juice drink. There's a money-back guarantee, and you can use the coupon code DAN to save 10%. The natural answer to high blood pressure. Visit 120life.com today and start lowering your blood pressure in just 2 weeks.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Wealth Management Group, hosted by Craig Bolanos. Heard Sunday mornings at 10.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. In these uncertain economic times where investors don't exactly know where to park their money.
Yeah.
Enter Mayor Triple Threat, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Once in a lifetime opportunity. You're going to want to get in on the ground floor of this.
What is
Listen to the investment opportunity that Lori Lightfoot is providing all Chicago residents.
This is Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and I am proud to announce that as a Chicago resident or individual investor, you can now invest directly in our beloved city by purchasing Chicago social bonds. These social bonds will fund a portion of the Chicago Recovery Plan, which is making $1.2 billion in equitable, transformative investments in our city. The Chicago Recovery Plan includes nearly $1 billion in affordable housing projects, $117 million in homelessness and transitional housing support, $110 million in community economic development, $46 million for the largest tree planting initiative in the city's history, and $41 million for full light-duty city vehicle electrification over the next 5 years. The first series of social bonds to fund the Chicago Recovery Plan will be sold in the week of January 16, 2023, and will fund essential projects such as the construction of more than 2,000 units of affordable housing, the establishment of safe and clean emergency shelter space for people experiencing homelessness, the cleanup and sale of over 5,000 vacant city lots, and the planting next year of 15,000 trees citywide. These bonds are being offered exclusively to the residents of Chicago and individual investors before any banks or large investors. That means Chicagoans and individual investors will have the first pick when purchasing Chicago social bonds and investing in the future of our city and your community. To learn more about the STSC and to participate in this historic transaction that will transform our city, please contact your broker or visit chicago.gov/social bonds.
Got that, Dan? How many do you want? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. You thought that investing in the future of Chicago was something only the fat cats can do. No. Not with Triple Threat around, giving you this exclusive one-time opportunity ahead of the institutional investors to get in on government housing and homeless shelters and tree equity. I mean, talk about a license to print money.
$46 million for the tree program. I want to hug a tree. No, I'm trying to divest from Chicago, not invest in Chicago. And this is just another, I mean, with the election close, a month away, more than a little bit a month away, this is her solution, do you think?
Where's your, what would be tantamount to your patriotism? Where's your commitment to this greatest city on earth, Chicago? Won't you buy a Lori Lightfoot Chicago social bond?
Has any other big city ever done this before?
Sure. I mean, it's just a marketing ploy. It's just issuing bonds. I mean, and it's tantamount to war bonds. It's the equivalent of war bonds. It's a way for governments to finance projects where they don't want to impose tax increases.
Well, because they can't tax anything else in Chicago. I mean, real quick, look at your cable bill, everybody. $60 plus a month goes to taxes. Entertainment tax, there's a city tax, county tax, state tax. I mean, just everything we do, they tax us to death here. So I guess this is the only way for her to, create jobs. I don't know, create housing for homeless people. Chicago social bonds, I'm not in. You wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, would you, Dan?
No. I think you want to get out there. I think those in the Vanguard class in Chicago should be first in line. I think there should be op-eds pushing the social bonds. I think people should, as Mark Lennon wrote about in Wire Points about this, should put yard signs next to your "I hate has no home here" sign. I bought Chicago social bonds. I mean, let's go, people. Put your money where your mouth is. And think about being part of this transformation of Chicago, where you can have, public housing projects in the financial district and homeless shelters on the Gold Coast and trees wherever there aren't trees and vacant lots cleaned up so that they can be better looking vacant lots. I mean, the opportunities to be part of this Chicago restoration.
I think we should
Chicago
force
recovery plan.
Yeah, we should force all those lefty liberals, the pea hat wearers and their husbands. They voted for her because they've got millions. They are the ones who should be investing and buying Chicago social bonds. Don't you think?
Verlon, Southside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
What's my return on my investment? What do I get out of the deal? Can you tell me that, Dan?
You get a better Chicago.
You have a better heart. You did something.
You get a better Chicago. I did this. You can't put a price tag on a better Chicago, on a recovered Chicago, can you, Verlon?
I don't live there anymore, so I want some return.
Well, you can't buy it. You're not. It's only Chicago residents. Chicago residents are at the front of the line ahead of institutional investors. You're going to have to wait, and if there's any left when these bonds are all gobbled up by Chicagoans and then the institutional investors, yeah.
Verlon,
I mean, there's a legitimate return. It's not just like buying a share in the Green Bay Packers. There's a return here, but I just love the financing and marketing scheme associated with the financing, don't you?
No, I don't like this deal.
You don't like it? Yeah, well, you're smart.
Text messages, chance for champagne communists to pony up. Another one, recovery. We don't need no stinking recovery.
Dan in Lake Zurich. Hey, Dan.
Hey, good morning. I wouldn't invest in a failing business unless I saw a hostile takeover from a successful business. So, sorry, no.
Not until, thanks for the call, not until Indianapolis invades and takes over Chicago. Matt in Mount Greenwood.
Yeah, I want to ask if anybody want to invest in my new U-Haul franchise down in Mount Greenwood. I guarantee returns for the amount of business we're going to have here over the next several years to get out of this decrepit city. Have a good day, folks.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Karen Beecher.
Good morning. Good thing this is radio and y'all can't see my face laughing so hard at this. I don't know if you guys watched the show Shameless.
I sure did.
This sounds like something that Frank would have cooked up in order to pony up some money for the his endeavors, not the family.
No.
But it's shameless.
I know.
Thanks for the call, Karen. It reminds me of a great story about Reagan. I've probably told it before, but when he was governor of California and he proposed some budget cuts in terms of state support of public universities in California. And he was on one of the state university's campuses, and people were protesting. The kids were protesting, and they surrounded his state car. He's the governor, and were pressing on the car, and we are your future. We are the future. We are your future, and so on and so forth. And Reagan took out a legal pad, wrote on it, held it up to a window that said, "If you're our future, I'm selling my bonds." And that's about the same attitude I have towards Chicago social bonds. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, another satisfied client of Turnkey.
Hi, this is Bill Peters, Senior Marketing and Communications Director for Green Ladder Technologies in Batavia. In March of 2021, we received a call from our IT service provider that they were shutting down all IT functions and computer support in 30 days. Our family of companies relies on 100% uptime to maintain all aspects of our businesses, from fulfilling customer orders to managing logistics, payroll, and more. As AM 560 listeners, we knew about Turnkey and called them immediately. We needed to transition our servers from multiple companies, our hardware, and data in less than 30 days with zero interruption and downtime. They immediately stepped in and worked with us to avoid a catastrophic shutdown. In less than 3 weeks, we transitioned seamlessly with Turnkey. Today, Greenladder Technologies continues to partner with Turnkey for all of our IT support.
Let Turnkey be the centerpiece for change in your business so you can get the most out of it.
Visit turnkey.pro today. Turnkey.pro.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Another big idea for the Chicago mayoral candidates coming out of San Francisco in the form of a specific reparations proposal. Can't believe Triple Threat or any of the other mayoral aspirants have not proposed this so far. We'll talk about it at 5:38.
And the price tag on that is in the millions. And later, you name a snowplow contest. We have the 50 finalists. They're pretty funny. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
42 degrees at 5:31. 8 are injured, 1 in critical condition. That after being shot during a Martin Luther King Jr. Day event in Florida. Chief Deputy Brian Hester with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office calls the bloodshed disappointing.
Multiple people were shot. It sounds like from our initial investigation here on scene, there was a disagreement of some sort between two parties, and unfortunately, they chose to resolve that with guns.
It happened in the town of Fort Pierce, where the community was celebrating a car show and what had been billed as a family day. 25 unaccounted for after a Russian missile strike on an apartment block in southeast Ukraine over the weekend. 40 are feared dead. 3 weeks of relentless rain winding down in California, giving the state a break from storms that have turned neighborhoods into lakes, roads, and the rivers and forced tens of thousands from their homes. Gas prices are up again. AAA reporting today's national average price for regular no lead is $3.32 a gallon. Cook County Sheriff's Office is confirming that the remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. Cheyenne Cluse was 22 when she was last seen leaving her home in November of 2017. The Cluse family announced her remains had been discovered. However, it's not known where or how the remains were found. University of Illinois Chicago faculty members are going on strike today. The work stoppage comes after the union representing faculty and university leadership failed to reach a contract agreement yesterday. Negotiations have been ongoing for about 9 months. There's an investigation ongoing this morning in central Illinois after a ring-tailed lemur was found last week in a Bloomington home. King Julian the lemur was rescued by Miller Park Zoo staff and the Illinois Conservation Police after it was discovered in a family's garage on Thursday. The family has no idea how it got there. It's currently being quarantined at the zoo. Ring-tailed lemurs are native to the island of Madagascar. Cowboys punched their ticket to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, routing Tom Brady and the Bucs 31-14 last night. Number 23, Illinois, dominates the second half during a 78-60 win over Minnesota at the Barn, Williams Arena. The Illini host Indiana on Thursday. Now, the White Sox have agreed to contracts with 7 international free agents, including pitching prospect Luis Reyes, and infielder Juan Uribe Jr. Yes, his dad, Juan Uribe, infielder, played 16 seasons in the Bigs, won a world championship with the 05 White Sox. The news, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Who are the leaders today who really walk in the footsteps of Abraham Lincoln? There are many worthwhile debates about the causes of the American Civil War, of course, but if you accept the fact that Lincoln helped the United States in the 1800s, and you sense our nation needs help today, you need to listen to The Ashes That Still Remain by Father Thomas Coyes, now available on Audible.com. You'll hear an in-depth comparison of the similarities between the Dred Scott decision and the Roe v. Wade decision. Since June of 2022 saw the overturning of Roe, it is more important than ever to learn the lessons of our past. The challenge of convincing those who can't imagine letting go of abortion rights reminds us of the tenacity of those who clung to their right to own slaves. Go to Audible.com and download your version of The Ashes That Still Remain.
The Ashes That Still Remain by Father Thomas Coyes, now available at Audible.com.
You don't need special gadgets to be a hero. With unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere, the Capital One Quicksilver Card makes you the hero of every purchase. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
It's 5:36. Let's get an update on the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7 around the clock all day, every day. Listen now, danandamy247.com. Edens and Kennedy are off on time. The Ike is moving without delay, 390 to the old post office in 23 minutes. Stevenson inbound 23 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Slowdown showing up on the Bishop Ford between 103rd and the Dan Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mostly cloudy with a stray shower this morning and becoming breezy by the afternoon. We will top out at 42. Currently 42 degrees. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I saw that race hustling poverty pimp, POS, Jesse Jackson Sr., endorsed Brandon Johnson in the mayor's race. Brandon Johnson, who's a communist tool of the Chicago Teachers Union. And I know that doesn't separate him from much of the rest of the field, but he's the one that received Jesse Jackson Sr., and I assume Jonathan's endorsement, too.
Yeah,
That's
they had
real
a
exciting.
big thing yesterday.
So where is the big idea? Big endorsement. Where's the big idea? Where's the big idea coming from the Black Lives Matter Marxists running for mayor? There's many of them. Where's a big idea for Chicago like the Reparations Commission came up with for San Francisco?
And I think she started with the Chicago social bonds, right?
Yeah, that's not a big enough idea. That's not race-specific enough, even though the projects are. Yeah. The San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee has proposed repaying each black longtime resident of San Francisco, not repaying, paying, proposed paying each black longtime resident of San Francisco $5 million, one-time lump sum payment, and granting total debt forgiveness due to the decades of systemic repression, quote-unquote, faced by the local black community. While neither San Francisco nor California formally adopted the institution of chattel slavery, the tenets of segregation, white supremacy, and systemic repression and exclusion of black people were codified through legal and extra-legal action, social codes, and judicial enforcement. Therefore, $5 million.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also reach us on our text line, which is always fun. 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment.
$5 million, and to qualify, you must be 18 years old.
Okay.
Have identified as black.
Oh,
Rachel Dolezal is eligible. Have identified as black or African American in public documents for at least 10 years. So you had to be had a learning curve if you were a honky like Rachel Dolezal identifying as black. You had to do it for a while. And she did, actually.
She did. She did it successfully. Had people fooled.
You also have to have been a resident of San Francisco for at least 13 years or born in San Francisco between the years 1940 and 1996.
Who put up those parameters?
So 1940 and 1996, what... And then the description about the white supremacy, systemic racism, segregation. In 1996 in San Francisco, how long did they have segregation? Did Jim Crow persist in San Francisco be well beyond the time it did in the South? 1996, so you could be, 26, 27 years old right now and still be in line for a $5 million lump sum payment. Ooh. And that's not all. That's not all.
But wait, there's more.
The plan also calls for the city to supplement lower income recipients' income. So you get the $5 million lump sum. But if you're lower income, which you're not after you get $5 million, but okay, I guess if you're lower income prior to receiving the $5 million, then you get a supplemental distribution to the area's median income, which is about $97,000 annually for at least 250 years.
What?
So you get $5 million. If you're lower income before you get $5 million, you get $97,000 for 250 years. What? You're not going to adjust for inflation? I hope that's indexed, for God's sakes.
You're going to live 250 years?
Racial disparities across all metrics have led to a significant racial wealth gap in the city of San Francisco, according to the commission. By elevating income to match the area median income, black people can better afford housing and achieve a better quality of life. Well, the $5 million will help too.
Yeah, that's not bad.
You could
probably a nice studio there.
You could probably do a cash deal and so not have a mortgage. Now you will still have to pay the property taxes and so on and so forth. So I hear what you're saying. What do you think? $5 million lump sum payment, 1940 to 1996. So obviously, people born in 1940, they did suffer, I'm sure, institutional racism under the color of law in San Francisco, as in most of the rest of the country. Past 1970, I think it's a little bit more difficult to argue. Past 1980, past 1990. Okay. All right. $5 million, $97,000 a year for 250 years.
Where is this money coming from? Do I dare ask?
I don't
care.
care.
Does that make me racist?
I don't care. The question is not that. Who cares where the money comes from? Let San Francisco figure it out. The question is, why aren't we doing it here? Why don't we have a visionary, identitarian, Marxist politicians here proposing the same thing? Because they should be, shouldn't they? Getting sort of one-upped by San Francisco, I'd say. Where are the Black Lives Matter folks? Where are the what's in it for black people folks? Where are all the race hustlers and poverty pimps, like I just mentioned? Why isn't Rainbow Push proposing this? Why isn't Triple Threat twinning this with her social bonds?
Sorry, she doesn't have a press conference
Chicago
today.
Teachers Union, Brandon Johnson. Where are the race hustlers when you need them? What's going on? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line, or somebody like Governor Pritzker. I mean,
he's got billions. Right?
No, not his money. Our money.
Oh.
This needs to be a collective effort. We all need to pay our fair share to atone for our sins. No. This is not private money. This has to be taxpayer money. It has to be your money and my money and everybody else's money.
I don't know what else they're going to tax, but yeah, okay.
I mean, just raise tax. I don't
raise taxes.
Our state income tax is 4.95%. Make it 10. Whatever it takes to properly atone for sins that we didn't commit. But whatever, we're honkies. We're oppressors. That's the line of argumentation. So let's attach some consequences to it. Right? Isn't that what your friends in that cult that you call a church would say?
They'd be all over this.
Why don't you make a prayer offering on Sunday for a $5 million lump sum payment plus whatever the median area income is in Chicago? Let's say it's $80,000. $80,000 for 250 years. We should do that here. You could lead the way, and you could get your fellow cult members to march down.
They march a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah. March down Clark Street and take it all the way to City Hall. Pick up people along the way. Let's get a movement started here.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Text us at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Oh, hi. Good morning, guys. But Dan, if they do this in Chicago, that would be it for me. Oh my God.
It for you? What are you talking about?
Sure. Dan. They did it in Evanston. Didn't they successfully pay?
Yes.
Not to the tune of $5 million.
No,
I get it.
250 years.
It was a pittance. It was like $25,000 housing grants. I mean, that's a pittance. It's insulting.
They better get on it here and start catching up. They better come up with something new.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Amy, that church that you're in, if they get involved in this, I'd consider leaving that church. And you know what else?
They have Black Lives Matter signage on the altar.
Amy.
Get involved.
They moved it. Now it's by the vestry. Yes.
Yeah, great.
Amy. All right. What my other point? I'm sick of being called the white supremacist. That's for damn sure.
Well, then pony up.
Get on board.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to pony up. I'm going to go to Ancestry.com. No, I'm going to find out if I'm black.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You can find out on Ancestry.com.
Why not?
Public documents for 10 years.
Public documents.
You have to have identified as Black or African American on public documents for 10 years. So you have to have some sort of restriction. But here's the thing: you're not trying. You're a honky. You're not supposed to get in on it. You're supposed to be an ally. So why don't you organize the Western Springs chapter? Go over to Jim Durkin's house. I'm sure he'll join. He's a big Black Lives Matter supporter.
Sure he will.
And start getting all those awfuls in Western Springs organized to support this.
Because you know what, they would do it because they won't support me doing anything else. I mean, they won't support me when I get together. We were trying to get Peacock elected.
That's advancing white supremacy. Here's the opportunity to go to your friends and say that you're ready to atone. You're ready to be accepted in Western Springs. Go to them and say, let's do this. Let's get this done at the state level. Chicago shouldn't carry the entire burden for the legacy of white supremacy. Let's open our hearts and, better yet, our checkbooks and force everybody else's checkbook open. And let's get this done. How can we let San Francisco show us up?
You know what? I know where I'm going to go. I'm going to get my Lululemon on. I'm going to go to yoga, and I'm going to go to Starbucks. So
bingo.
I'm sure I'll meet a bunch of
bingo.
People. Yeah.
The revolution begins. Thanks for the call, Mary Kay. Monica and Lyle.
Yeah, I was just wondering how many are going to take their $5 million and leave the state of California after all is said and done. I mean, free money. Here we go.
Yeah.
I wonder if part of it is that they have to live in California.
No, I'd give the $5 million back. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Monica.
I mean, $5 million? Well,
I assume it's tax. It's tax free because otherwise, then you're going to be at the give a million. You're going to get 13% taken right back by the state. So yeah. But see, then if you invest, it's dangerous. That would be great to see get all these black residents of San Francisco get their $5 million and then they leave en masse for Nevada and Arizona and other places that are more tax friendly. It'd be wonderful to see. Jeff, Cal City.
Good morning, Dan and Amy.
I say enough with the virtue signaling. I don't even know why they're bringing this up. They should have just passed it and voted on it. Are they trying to stir up controversy? I think you guys should get on board too and just bring it out there and just show how wonderful this is going to be.
I'm 100%. I'm 100% on board. I totally agree. Thanks for the call, Jeff. 100%. And if you want to make it 10 million here, make it 10 million. Well, it's just money. We're talking about our eternal souls. We're talking about being accepted by our neighbors, keeping up with the Joneses in Naperville. That's what's important, right? Sean, Northwest Side.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Good morning. Just wanted to make a quick comment. I'm surprised there's no side note or stipulation that the money can only be used for black-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses.
Well, thanks for the call. Hey, they don't make us honkies. Just support honky businesses. So, it's their money. Do with it however you want.
There is something, or you show that you're directly a descendant of someone incarcerated by the failed war on drugs. Oh, that's interesting too.
Oh, you still have to.
I'm reading into the plan. Oh, you still have to be 18 years old. You have to, everything you said. Identify as Black or African American on public documents for 10 years.
Well, then what additional population would that stipulation include?
I don't know. Personally, or the direct descendant of somebody incarcerated by the failed war on drugs.
Well, it doesn't say you have to be a descendant of slaves. It just says you have to be, the stipulation, at least according to the recommendation, was 18 years of age, 13-year resident, born between 40 and 96, and Black for 10 years or longer. So that's the reporting I saw. Kevin, West Side.
Hey, I was thinking that seeing that these were all this oppression was created by the laws that the politicians passed, freeze their pensions and use their pension fund to start paying these reparations.
I'm fine with that. Thanks for the call, Kevin. I'm fine with, politicians shouldn't get pensions.
Politicians are getting two pensions.
The whole term limits thing. That's why the whole term limits thing is it's the tail wagging the dog. Take the money out of politics. Take the power out of politics by reducing the size and scope of government, so there's fewer goodies to hand out. Then you get people coming and going, as opposed to making a 40-year career of it. The term limits people most of them always miss that.
God, the plan also seeks to establish a comprehensive debt forgiveness program. It clears anyone's student or housing loans and credit card debt.
Great. Whatever. Roger, Southside.
How are you? I just want two questions about the Frisco thing. First thing, which Jewish law firm is handling that firm so I can contact them today? Number two, we do need one up in here in Chicago. Question is, when they stop laughing when the faucet shuts off there, because behind all the smoke and mirrors is both with our financial problems, there are pension issues.
Pension issues. Wait, in Illinois?
Well, I guess it's not an
Say
issue.
the P word.
It's not an issue to the voters. It's not an issue to the political class. So it's not an issue. It's an issue to math, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I heard there was a couple of different Republican reps trying to propose a bill. I think it's called the Animal Farm Act or something like that, about putting all this stuff into it.
We're all snowball now, Roger. Yeah. Thanks for the call.
Right.
Appreciate it. Kevin, Northfield.
Amy, if you can't beat them, join them. I understand that on the North Shore there are a lot of white women seeking reparations over the invention of Viagra.
Hi-oh. Kevin Northfield, he just needs better joke writers.
I know. It's just not funny.
No.
He tries, though, and we appreciate him calling in. We really do.
On a serious note, because there is sort of a serious pathology that undergirds this identitarian claptrap and produces proposals like the one you have in San Francisco. Go back to Shelby Steele, the great Shelby Steele, and his work about 25 years ago, Dream Deferred, by the way, on the occasion of Martin Luther King Day. Maybe worth perusing White Guilt and Dream Deferred if you haven't already, and all of Shelby Steele's other works. Talking about the civil rights movement. In order to establish black freedom and equality as legitimate goals, the civil rights movement had to use moral shame as its primary weapon. What Dr. King and the other civil rights leaders could not have foreseen, not that would have made a difference, was that white Americans' acceptance of its shame would trigger a preoccupation with the redemption of its own lost moral authority that would far outstrip its interest in full freedom and equality for blacks. Maybe the most overlooked effect of the great civil rights victories of the 1960s is that they transformed America into a self-consciously shamed society where race is concerned. And what is clear to me on this King holiday, he wrote this in 99, what's clear to me on this King holiday is that this white self-preoccupation has turned out to be a major obstacle to the freedom we blacks won for ourselves in the civil rights era. Because whites now live under a demand to prove a negative, that they're not racist, they have tended to portray black freedom as essentially a white responsibility. The peculiar liberalism that came out of this era put black freedom and advancement largely in white hands. In this liberalism, whites can support welfare without work, racial preferences, and diversity programs, not because they work, but because they are grants to former victims of racism and thus redemptive for whites. And now you can throw reparations into that mix too. It has nothing to do with helping black Americans or black families. None of this does. None of the pronouncements you hear from these identitarian-addled harridans in the suburbs have anything to do with helping black people. They are mascots. And maybe with reparations, some of them will be much richer mascots, but mascots nonetheless. That's what needs to be communicated, but people are too afraid to say it. If you're not Shelby Steele or somebody with the standing that he has. But so I just borrow from his analysis because I think it's spot on. And I think if you actually look and listen to what you hear from these race hustle-addled residents of the suburbs of the Caucasian persuasion, you'll find his analysis is spot on. It's spot on. It's about my redemption. It's about me signaling that I'm a good person, that I have atoned. With the outcomes of these programs, even if they hurt black families, as the welfare state has, so what? It's not about them. It's about me. Vainglorious bastards. That's what these new Marxists in the suburbs are. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Inflation is nothing more than legalized theft. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and to preserve your wealth, I highly recommend keeping physical gold in your retirement account. To learn more, text the word safeguard to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold, which is the only gold IRA company I trust. So text safeguard to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, they've helped families set their legacies in stone for over 180 years. With interest-free financing and low monthly payments, now is the time to set your final wishes in place. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 today to schedule a free consultation.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Are evangelicals and pro-lifers who are not supporting Trump, are they disloyal? 606.
But now into the newsroom we go for news here at home and around the world. The one and only Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. UIC's faculty is walking off the job. One killed, one wounded during a shootout in a St. Charles home invasion. Number 23, Illinois wins at Minnesota. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
It was supposed to be a family fun day. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A Martin Luther King Jr. Day event, that was the name of it, at a park in Fort Pierce, Florida, included a car show. Ruined by gunfire. 8 people got shot.
It's sad that during a celebration of someone who represented peace and equality, that a disagreement results in a use of guns and violence.
St. Lucie County Chief Deputy Brian Hester. One of the victims is in critical condition. 4 others were hurt when the shooting led to chaos in the crowd. There have been no arrests. There's also a search for gunmen in a mass murder near Visalia, California. A mother and a baby among the 6 people killed.
2 victims were found dead in the street, a third in the doorway, and 3 inside the home, including one man who later died at a hospital. Officials say the attack does not appear to be a random act of violence, that they believe this was a targeted family and may be linked to gang activity, noting it comes after police conducted a narcotics search warrant at the home last week.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. In an arrest in New Mexico, a Republican who refused to believe he lost an election in November, Solomon Pena, is accused in a drive-by shooting in Albuquerque. Actually, 4 of them, targeting the homes of Democrats, 2 county commissioners, and 2 state lawmakers. They're still searching the wreckage of the plane crash in Nepal. They found all but 1 of the 72 people on board dead.
Looking for loved ones, searching for answers, a crowd gathers outside the morgue in Pokhara. Postmortems of 24 of the 70 bodies recovered so far will take place here. The rest will be flown to the capital, Kathmandu, before all are returned to their families. We still don't know what caused the crash.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. As COVID hits China hard with a massive surge in cases last year, we find out its population declined last year for the first time in 6 decades, and China's birth rate hit the lowest level on record, and China's economic growth fell to 3%. America's listening to Fox.
42 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. The Cook County Sheriff's Office confirms the remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. Cheyenne Cluse was 22 when she was last seen leaving her home in November of 2017. The Cluse family announced her remains have been discovered on social media. However, it is not known where or how the Cluse remains were found. Cook County Medical Examiner's Office is revealing the name of the teen killed in the shooting over the weekend in Des Plaines. Justice Broadway Williams was found shot Sunday night in the 1300 block of Perry Street. The 16-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. There's no word of any arrests. Chicago police are searching for suspects in several break-ins at businesses on the city's far northwest side. Here's AM 560's Nikki Whaley.
They broke the front glass door of a business, entered, then took the money from either a register or a office. All the robberies took place on January 12th in the overnight hours between 2 to 5 a.m. Detectives say that they're looking for several suspects who may be driving either a black Jeep Cherokee or a gray Honda Accord. Anyone with any information is urged to contact police. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley.
University of Chicago faculty members are going on strike today. Negotiations have been ongoing for about 9 months. Power is back on at all buildings on the campus of Illinois State University after major power outages yesterday. Today is the first day of the spring semester. Cowboys punched their ticket to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs with a 31-14 rout of Tampa Bay. Number 23, Illinois dominates the Golden Gophers, especially in the second half in a 78-60 win at Minnesota. The news a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and The Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows when you subscribe free at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of traffic and weather on the way next. on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
Does this country even represent itself? How it used to be? Have we become so used to fascism, so used to political whores and pimps and open and notorious bribery, that a scoundrel like Kevin McCarthy would even be considered, which goes to show you just how systemic the corruption is in this country.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
I've told you about my lower back pain and how kneeling in church on Sunday was becoming nearly unbearable. Sebastian Gorka here. I've also told you about how Relief Factor has helped almost eliminate my pain. Now, let me tell you what Robert in California says about his experience with Relief Factor. Robert writes, I didn't think Relief Factor was working until I ran out mid-month. After about 3 days, the pain was back to where it started. It was a great test for me to see how much Relief Factor really works. 3 weeks from now, you could be doing the things you enjoy doing and living the life you love. Your first step to becoming pain-free from aches and pains from daily living could be just to order the 3-week quick start for only $19.95. After trying Relief Factor, over 500,000 people have gone on to order more. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF to find out about this offer. That's relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. Feel the difference with Relief Factor.
We all want to eat healthy, but have you ever read the ingredients list off of your favorite snack? Between the hard-to-pronounce ingredients and man-made additives, it's difficult to find anything made from real, natural ingredients. Even some of my favorite organic snacks have ingredients I haven't heard of. At Balance of Nature, we know the value of real nutrition that can only be found in real food. That's why the only things you'll find on our ingredients list are real whole fruits and vegetables. No additives, fillers, or artificial ingredients of any kind. Balance of Nature is the best whole fruit and vegetable product on the market, delivering your body everything it needs to function at its very best. Eat better and feel better. Start your journey to better health. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get free shipping. And don't forget to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code CHICAGO.
6:07. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Edens and Kennedy are off on time this morning. Ike inbound, though, with some delays between Manheim and Des Plaines Avenue, 26 minutes into the old post office. Stevenson in 23 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan in 13 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Delays developing on the northbound Tri-State, 294 beginning to jam up at the Reagan Memorial or I-88 merge. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Clouds and a stray shower this morning, then breezy. Afternoon high today 42. Cloudy tonight, low 34. Clouds tomorrow, the high 40. Rain and snow shower on Thursday. Breezy, the high at 40. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
42 at O'Hare. Next news, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. President Trump, former President Trump, gave an interview to David Brody, formerly of Christian Broadcasting Network. He's got a podcast called Water Cooler, and covered a number of topics, including, of course, the comparative approach to the handling of classified documents by the Department of Justice as it pertains to the former and current president. But Something else he said, and he said after the November 8th election, and he was chastised for saying so by pro-life leaders, was that pro-lifers didn't do enough to help Republicans win in November. He also had something to say about evangelical Christians who are not currently supporting Trump in his bid to reclaim the presidency. Take a listen.
You were the ultimate fighter, the ultimate counterpuncher for sure, and that makes me think of evangelicals, why they loved you twice in those elections. And when you announced your candidacy, at least as it stands now, some of these prominent evangelical leaders who backed you last time, they're not yet willing to commit, like Robert Jeffress is not, some others. It seems like many of them are waiting to see how the field takes shape before backing anyone. What is your message to them?
Well, I don't really care. Look, that's a sign of disloyalty. There's great disloyalty in the world of politics, and that's a sign of disloyalty because nobody, as you know, and you would know better than anybody because you do such a great job, nobody has ever done more for right to life than Donald Trump. I put 3 Supreme Court justices who all voted, and they got something that they've been fighting for 64 years or many, many years.
Right.
And nobody thought they could win it. You know, they won. Roe v. Wade, they won. They finally won. And, you know, I was a little disappointed because I thought they could have fought much harder during the election, during the 22 election, because, you know, they won, and a lot of them didn't fight or weren't really around to fight, and it did energize the Democrats. But a lot of the people that wanted and fought for years to get it, they sort of, I don't know, they weren't there protesting and doing what they could have done. But with all of that being said, there's nobody that's done more for the movement than I have, and that includes the movement of evangelicals and Christians and the movement very much of Right to Life.
Yeah.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Is it disloyal to be an evangelical Christian or a pro-lifer of any denomination and not be supporting President Trump? Is that disloyalty? By the way,
that's a hard question.
It's a bit unnerving that he doesn't know the date of the Roe v. Wade decision, that it was 50 years, not 64. Maybe I'm being parsimonious, but sort of seminal case. And if you're going to cast yourself as the
ultimate pro-lifer,
greatest pro-life leader in the history of the country, or at least in the history of occupants of the White House, then you may want to have specific knowledge of these things. But regardless, disloyalty. Is that accurate?
I just think some people are tired of his antics and sat the midterms out. I mean, I'm appreciative of what he did. He also appointed, 200 judges to the federal bench, and to a federal appeals court judges. And he did, he deregulated a lot for small businesses and helped them. I mean, our economy was chugging along. Gas prices were great. Going to the grocery store was not painful. Trying to refinance your house, if you wanted to take out equity from your home, you could do it, but you can't now because mortgage, interest rates were 7 to 8% for a 30-year fixed mortgage. Life was better. But I just think that people got sick of the tweeting and just him in general, and
That's not what I meant. That's not the question. Is it disloyal to not support the president? Don't tell me why they're not supporting him. Is it disloyal, regardless of the reason?
I don't think it's disloyal. I think that they want to back another candidate. No, I don't think it's disloyal.
See, the thing is that politicians, I mean, here's a view, my view. Politicians are the means to policy ends. So there's no disputing that Trump nominated those Supreme Court justices, and there's no disputing how important those nominations were. There's also no disputing that he acted in his own interests to put out a list of judges that was put together for him by the Federalist Society, fleshed out by Leonard Leo at the time, while he was a candidate, to persuade pro-lifers and evangelical Christians that he was going to nominate Supreme Court justices and federal judges who had a proper understanding of the Constitution as it pertains to Roe v. Wade and many other cases and provisions in the Constitution. And that's fine. He should act in his self-interest. And so should pro-lifers and evangelical Christians. And yeah, the disloyalty thing, you know, I got to say, if he could just be a little bit more charitable, it would go a long way for him. If he thinks he's acting in his self-interest to make statements like that statement and previous statements since the November 8th election, and always beating his chest, as opposed to, say, 50 years of pro-life activism, 50 years of marching for life on the Mall, all of the great heroes and heroines of the pro-life movement, in the religious community and outside of it, the converts to the movement that were so instrumental, those who were formerly on the pro-abort side and became champions for life. They had seen what the pro-abort side with the Planned Parenthood mills were really like. Say, for example, Abby Johnson comes to mind. Great pro-life leaders like Phyllis Schlafly come to mind. And there are many, Father Frank Pavone. I mean, there's so many. So, yes, as president, there's no disputing what he did. His speaking at the March for Life, as he did, was outstanding. And I applaud him for that. But politicians are means to policy ends. And when they stop being means to those policy ends, they lose their relevance. You can still like them. You can still appreciate what they did. But if they stop doing it for whatever reason, then it's time to identify other people who will advance your policy flags, right? The Republic doesn't turn on one man or woman. It never has. It never will. It never should. And the Trump loyalty thing is a bit of a struggle for me because, as I've criticized him on this point many times from the beginning, he's a guy who doesn't like to surround himself with a talent necessarily, as opposed to sycophants. Now, that's not completely the case. There are a lot of exceptions in his cabinet and with appointees and so forth. But inner circle, remember, this is a guy who came to town with Michael Cohen as his fixer, for God's sakes. This is a guy who thought Anthony Scaramucci would be a good comms director. I mean,
lasted 10 days.
Every person is going to make mistakes with personnel. I get it.
But hanging out with Roger Stone and some part Steve Bannon. I mean,
it's less even about the personalities than it is about the mindset. Are you always searching for talent and sometimes you make bad calls? Or are you searching for people who will just polish your apple? And I think Trump has a tendency to the latter, to his detriment. And the need for constant braggadocio, reminding everyone that everything that he did and seeming to indicate to the exclusion of anyone else's help is a bad look for a leader. It just is. And so he's in this position where despite his record, which is roundly supported by the Republican Party, the substance of what he did on policy, roundly supported. He's in this position where he faces a real threat. Maybe he's even an underdog, but at minimum, a real threat to the nomination from Ron DeSantis. Why? Because of what I'm describing. Because of the statements he made like that one. And that is no one's fault but his own. And I don't understand those who demand accountability from politicians across the spectrum, except from Trump. Why is he in the position he's in despite his record? Oh, it's because of the media. Oh, it's because of this and it's that, and he's been treated unfairly in the Department of Justice. Right, all those things are true, and they would tend to create even more support for him. But it's muted. Why? And unfortunately, with few exceptions, and they're sort of excited utterances and then they dissipate, the people in Trump world that maybe he sometimes listens to are not willing to be honest with him. They just want to attack anybody who offers any like substantive criticism to the approach he's taking for the destination to which he seeks to arrive, which is what I'm offering. And we had this in the primary too, and then in when he won, and disagreements over punching down, and disagreements over particular policy choices too. And you're not allowed to criticize President Trump. Nonsense. No one is above reproach. No one is above criticism, particularly anyone in public office. And if it's like I don't know. I loathe using sports metaphors for politics, except when I use them.
Of course.
So it's I don't know, Jay Cutler having a penchant for throwing the ball to the wrong team. You're not allowed to criticize Jay Cutler because you're a Bears fan. So everything he does is beyond reproach. No. All his judgment calls are beyond reproach. I don't think so. His attitude is beyond criticism. No. And so the same goes with politicians, including and not limited to Trump. And if you think like telling evangelical leaders or that they are being disloyal because they're not rallying around your conduct in so many instances, that's why they're not there. It's not because of your policy choices. It's not because there's disagreement about your accomplishments. It's because you're marginalizing yourself. And evangelicals and pro-lifers, like anybody else, want to see or want to support candidates they believe are viable so they can carry their issues into the policy arena, just as they supported Trump against Hillary Clinton because that was obviously a non-starter going with Hillary, like some of the never-Trumpers allegedly on the right did. And that was a non-starter going with Joe Biden, so they were there again in 2020. And then you're going to turn around and say anything less than a full-throated endorsement is disloyal. And the responsibility for the underperformance of Republicans on November 8th rests at the doorstep of pro-lifers? Oh, I think it's a bit more complicated than that, don't you? Anthony, Northside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning. I just wanted to talk about that and loyalty to like whatever as far as Trump goes. And the thing is, there can't be no part-time like protest. Like we're the voice. He's the voice representation for us. And if we're mute at the time of protest, especially when there's elections going on, I don't think that he wants people just for him. He wants them to speak their voice throughout, their representation of no matter who the candidate is. If there's lack of protest, that means lack of representation. So Trump's trying to be a voice for the the American people and bring their concerns to the table. It's not more about him. It's more about we the people, our concerns.
Maybe.
And that's the kind of politicians we want in office. We want somebody to represent us. We can't sit idle and expect them to speak for us without knowing our voices. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. I agree with that. And this is where, precision with language is important because while I agree with that, and maybe that's part of what Trump is saying, that you need to fight the way that I fought against the swamp, maybe he just needs to say something simple like that rather than about, I did this and nobody did more than me and nobody is this, only me.
I understand that. I understand that. And in the same breath, we have to show power from the people no matter who the candidate is. It's not more about Trump. It's more about our representation no matter who's representing us, our voice.
Yeah.
And Trump is for the people, by the people, especially if elected. You see it all the time on the leftist side. They can gather, they probably pay people to be out there to protest. We have to do it full time. If we want to be heard, especially being pro-choice, We have to be out there in numbers, not just partial, not when needed, not just in representation of Trump or at one of his rallies or whenever, he's up for a candidacy. And we all know he's no politician, speaking. He's more of a stern, representation of voices that make sense. You know what I mean?
Thanks for the call, Anthony. Appreciate it. I mean, I get that. Again, the Victor Davis Hanson formulation on Trump, his value prop as a candidate, all those people on Wall Street and Hollywood and corporate America in the D.C. press corps, I know them all, and they're even worse than you think, and I'm going to go take a bicycle chain to their playgrounds. And I completely agree with that. And I'm totally appreciative of it to the extent that he was able to do that. And I want more of it. But you have to recognize when somebody is doing things that are destructive to those ends and say, that's destructive to those ends. You have to call things how they are. No beautiful lies, including as it pertains to Trump. Philip, West Side.
Hey, Dan and Amy. Good morning to the rest of the world. Dan, what I wanted to say was, Donald Trump came when we needed him to start draining the swamp, per se. And he has done a great job. I tell people, the man is not perfect, but if you see what they have put, not just Donald Trump, us through for the last 6 years of him announcing being president, we are turning our backs on Trump. Trump is not the greatest speaker. Yeah, he brags a little too much, but Dan, I look at it like this. The heck with his remarks, what about the results? Everybody say Ron DeSantis, he's a great governor. But, Dan, when it comes to somebody being a leader, we need somebody strong. I don't care what the evangelists, whatever you call, whatever they say. We need somebody with strength. And what's happening with this world is everybody has been so weakened that they cannot stand the criticism or the Trump-like people. And he's not our God or our Savior. He's just like the average person, I believe. And, we are letting him down. And that's my feeling.
Well, Philip, I appreciate the call. Thanks for the call. When a politician says, you've let me down to the electorate, that's just a bad look.
It's not gonna. They're not gonna get on board now. I mean,
you're not doing enough for me. You've disappointed me. That's just a bad approach. But the rest of what Philip just said about I'm not your savior, I'm not perfect, I'm not Churchillian in my rhetorical offering, but I'm on your side, and we're on the same side of the skirmish line, and we're going to take the fight to the swamp, and we're going to pick up where we left off pre-pandemic, and even the rarest of all things, any humility about some of the mistakes that were made by him and what he learned from them so that he's going to be better and more surgical and more effective this next go-around, that would be so much more helpful. So much more helpful.
Yeah.
Riffing off of what Philip just said and adding a little bit to that, I mean, it doesn't need to be, the king's speech. It just needs to be on point about people other than him. And it comes across as about him and what other people aren't doing to be supportive enough for him. And you know what that does? It continues to diminish his support. It's not productive. And right on cue, Jan in Hoffman Estates.
Yeah, listen, all the mainstream media has been bashing. I'm out with the electorate. I'm out around the country a lot, and all of the people talk about is Trump, okay? This is the state of Illinois. I think you guys really need to work in another state because this is a loser state. This is a state that's going nowhere, you know?
I'm aware of that.
And you guys should be bashing Pritzker, who was giving a speech on eating bugs at the World Health Forum and losing weight.
Yeah.
Now, that's what you should talk about. Or Lightfoot talking about how many murders she's taken care of in the last couple of years.
Jan,
this is where the bashing needs to be done.
Jan, first of all, we cover it. Secondly, I just spent $35 million of other people's money trying to defeat Pritzker. So if you'll excuse me in terms of who's not taking the fight to Pritzker and Lightfoot. And number three,
it's a losing battle in this state.
I understand,
we know. That's why some people leave.
But you're telling us to talk about this, but it's a losing battle, so then why even bother? And we're saying we are going to bother. Jan, hold on a second. Just hold on. Slow your roll, for God's sakes. What we're doing with this conversation is not bashing Trump. I'm sick of that characterization. It's tiresome because it's inaccurate. This is not MSNBC or CNN where we're lighting our hair on fire and saying Trump is a threat to democracy. We're having a serious conversation about being constructive as a political leader or not constructive. Advancing your interests as a candidate or not advancing them. That's not bashing. So stop with the caricature. Any cross word of Trump is just thrown into the bucket of bashing. That's inaccurate. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
You depend on compressed air equipment to run your business. A failed compressor would bring your production to a screeching halt. You need a local supplier for parts and maintenance items like oil and filters. And when your business is expanding and needs the right compressed air equipment to upgrade, your local go-to source, CompressedAirAdvisors.com, can step in to save the day. Explore thousands of items online at CompressedAirAdvisors.com. Plus, they have a huge local inventory of equipment in stock and ready to go. They're a Chicago Pneumatic Elite distributor and authorized distributor for leading manufacturers like Champion, FS Curtis, PowerX, Hankinson, and more. Their staff know air compressors and are ready to assist you with a custom solution for all your air compressor needs. For a limited time, enter 560 The Answer at checkout when ordering online and receive an additional 10% off. Compressed Air Advisors Online, Incorporated in Lombard. For more info, visit CompressedAirAdvisors.com or call 877-247-2381.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The latest installment of Why Dan Proft is Single. So many reasons. 636.
Oh, can I play too? And pick
Feel
a snow
free to
plow
pile
name.
on, yes.
Mike, you saw the list. What do you think? Snoper Winfrey?
There's some good ones.
I don't know why I think this is. It's all about the 85 Bears.
Nothing as good as White Snow Matters.
Oh,
pretty good. 41 degrees, 6:32 is our time. Authorities are searching this morning for at least 2 suspects following a deadly shooting in Goshen, California.
We definitely have suspects who came in onto the property and made it very personal.
The Tulare County Sheriff's Office says 6 were killed when a gunman opened fire at a home, including a teen mother and her infant child hit by gunfire. California catching a break as rains that have pounded the state for the past 3 weeks are beginning to let up.
As the water recedes, it's pretty standard that the maintaining agencies will need to inspect and patrol their levees to look for any damage that may have occurred as these waters have been up against those levees for so long.
The White House is making it clear that there are no visitor logs kept at President Biden's Wilmington, Delaware home. Fox's Alexandria Hoff.
The White House says no visitor logs to the president's Wilmington residence exist. Republicans find that hard to believe. Access to the president, even a former vice president, isn't exactly as casual as neighbors popping by with a casserole. But who has access to these documents? That's where Republicans are really concerned. But according to the White House, quote, like every president in decades of modern history, his personal residence is personal. House Republicans are playing politics in a shamelessly hypocritical attempt to attack President Biden. Both the House Oversight Committee and House Judiciary Committee have launched investigations into the matter. This is on top of the special counsel's.
At least 8 are injured, 1 critically after being shot during a Martin Luther King Jr. Day event in Florida. Chief Deputy Brian Hester is with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office.
Multiple people were shot. It sounds like from our initial investigation here on scene, there was a disagreement of some sort between 2 parties, and unfortunately, they chose to resolve that with guns.
It happened in the town of Fort Pierce. Cook County Sheriff's Office confirming remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. Cheyenne Cluse was 22 when she was last seen leaving her home in November of 2017. The Cluse family announcing her remains have been discovered on social media. However, It isn't known where or how Clouse's remains were found. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office revealing the name of the teen killed in the shooting over the weekend in Des Plaines. Justice Broadway Williams was found shot Sunday night in the 1300 block of Perry Street. The sheriff in Kenosha County says deputies opened fire on a suspect who pointed a weapon at them. The suspect is now hospitalized. The Wisconsin deputies are on leave. The Cowboys beat Tampa Bay 31-14 in wildcard playoff action last night. Blackhawks will try to get back in the win column when they host Buffalo tonight. Number 23 Illinois dominates Minnesota in Big Ten play, 78-60. The news, the service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager sees a mass exit.
California's delegation to the House, based on population, declined for the first time in California history. California was once identified with freedom. This was the place you went to be free. Now, thanks to the Democratic Party and the rest of the left, this is the place you flee to be free.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Changing the world, one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
Hi, it's Amy, and MyPillow is excited to bring you their biggest bedding sale ever. Get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. Folks, they look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. So trust me, these sheets are ridiculously comfy. Rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. They also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles. They even have blankets for your pets. Get duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more, all with the biggest discounts ever. MyPillow is also extending their money-back guarantee until March. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. Use promo code Amy, and you'll get huge discounts on all MyPillow bedding products, including those amazing Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98 while quantities last. And don't forget to use promo code Amy for the best possible discounts available.
6:37. Let's get an update on the roads now. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Blindster.com. Blindster was started in 2010 to provide custom blinds, shades, and shutters at affordable prices. These blinds are easy to install. Shipping is free. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com. Inbound Edens right now 17 Lake Cook Road into the junction. Kennedy inbound 27 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound slowdowns between Wolf and 25th, 33 minutes from 390 into the old post office. 40 minutes in from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive on the Stevenson commute and the Dan Ryan 16 95th into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy, stray shower this morning, then becoming breezy in the afternoon. A high of 42. 41 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
All right, I've got a couple of good stories. Anything you want to offer in addition, Amy, please?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. A man's ex-girlfriend has been charged with non-consensual dissemination of private sexual images after she sent his boss his nudes and claimed he was gay.
Zing!
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll love the note.
That's so gross, though. That's just evil.
This is up in Minnesota. They they got snowing. They can't do anything else. So
nobody wants to see that.
Well, also, too, I mean, I don't understand, especially after Anthony Weiner, or Brett Favre for that matter, the penis picked. What is this?
I know.
Well, I don't get it.
I don't either.
His 34-year-old ex sent sexually explicit photos of him to his supervisors at work. The nudes were originally sent to his ex-girlfriend by his current girlfriend in a bid to make her jealous. But then when the ex-girlfriend got the image of his junk, she sent the picture to the dude's boss with a note that read, "I wanted to thank you for the employment and want to let everyone know I like transgenders and I'm gay. Thank you." And here's a picture of my private part.
Trying to get him fired? Or just trying to make things more uncomfortable at work?
I don't know. I mean, coming out as transgender and gay, you probably got a promotion, but she's got arrested. That's what happened to her.
Oh, she did?
Well, yeah, because the revenge porn is, illegal in most states. Yeah. According to court records, she, the lunatic who sent the picture and with the note to the dude's boss, was, quote, highly intoxicated and extremely derogatory toward the LGBT community. Well, she seemed to be sort of a proponent. So, yeah. Uh-huh. So there's one reason why Dan Proft is single, because of lunatic fringe women like this chick. But, and I get the guy, taking a picture of his junk, too. That's a problem as well.
Well, if you don't want people to see it, don't take a picture of it. Because do you really delete it when you delete it, or you think you do?
It's the old saw, don't do anything you wouldn't want to see on the 6 o'clock news.
Bingo.
If you'd like to see your penis on the 6 o'clock news, take a picture of it.
Because guess what? Now it's on the news. Not just here in Minnesota, maybe other stations too.
All right. Now over to NPR. I love the advice columns. You know how I love the advice columns.
Oh, yes. You thrive for them.
The government media has a segment called Dear Life Kit. In each episode, they tackle one of the relationship questions someone has with an expert. This week's quack who tackles this question is some clinical psychologist named Jody Adewal. All right, so here's the problem. My boyfriend and I live together, and we both work from home. He doesn't like his current low-paying job, but he doesn't know what he wants to do long-term because he works remotely and doesn't have much to do. He spends hours of every workday playing video games. I feel like he's wasting an opportunity to learn a new skill or take part in a job training program. I voiced this a few times, and he half-heartedly agrees, but he never acts on it. He's too busy playing video games. He swears he only plays 1 or 2 video games a day, but I know it's not true because I can see his account activity. Spy. Beyond the fact I don't think the video game habit is healthy, I'm starting to feel a little bit put off by his lack of motivation and the additional household labor I do on top of my full-time job while he games. How do I talk to my boyfriend about his professional motivation and his problematic gaming without starting a fight or making him feel bad? I just want him to reach his potential and feel good about his occupation. Signed, Game Over It. Hi-yo. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. What problems do you see in Game Over It's recitation of the facts, and what advice would you give?
The advice, get him out. I'm giving him an ultimatum. Either you You stop playing video games, spending time doing more functional things to, for the betterment of society, or leave.
But Amy, I love him.
I don't care. Cut the cord. You could do better. It's not you, it's me.
Mm-mm.
You could use that line.
First of all, what's problematic about the facts as she presents them? The facts taken in light of the move, taken as true by the moving party here. I'll tell you a phrase that's a problem.
Okay, what's your problem?
My boyfriend and I live together.
Oh, see? Why buy the cow if you could get the milk for free?
Mm.
My grandma always said that.
Mm-hmm.
Never live with someone unless you're married.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Another problem.
Yeah.
Make him feel bad. I don't want to start a fight or make him feel bad.
Please stop.
Mm-hmm.
Pea hat wearer. Maybe she can knit him one.
She's the one who's saying that.
No, I know.
don't want to make him feel
I don't
bad.
want to make him feel bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, your advice is to
dump him now.
Kick him to the curb, as the kids said in 1975. Here's the response from the trained professional, the clinical psychologist.
Does she agree with me at all? A little bit, maybe?
You're not going to
man him
believe
up.
it. Most long-term behavior comes from intrinsic motivation. You can try to motivate people with positive reinforcement. You can give him praise for behaviors you like. For example,
is he a dog?
You could say, "Thank you so much for spending time with me." Or you can say, "I appreciate you submitting that resume." You could also try joining him in a positive behavior. For example, you might say, "Come on, let's look at some of these job training programs together."
It's a great new form of foreplay. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
She goes on, the clinical psychologist. I'd consider gaming like drugs, gambling, or porn. In excess, too much can create a problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It sounds like gaming is starting to cause problems in your relationship. Excessive gaming, like excessive alcohol, can be a sign of an underlying mental health condition that might need to be addressed. Could there be some depression or anxiety there? We got a pill for that. Is this a form of avoidance that's helping him get through the day? Try to understand what's motivating the behavior. Exactly. You need to crawl inside his mind. Understand your guy. I hear this from couples all the time. I don't want to say anything because it's going to turn into a fight. But there needs to be more assertive communication where you stand up and speak your needs while respecting his needs. Well, of course. I need to game. You have to respect that. It's important to understand your boundaries with your partner. Are you trying to create a life for them that they don't want? One without gaming? Couples therapy would be would be good for you as a couple. Having a safe space to talk about where both of you are can help facilitate a more constructive conversation. So no, don't kick him to the curb. Respect his lifestyle of being a professional gamer, the unpaid version, apparently. And maybe save some of that money you're making while he's at home and spend it on couples therapy.
It's infuriating. This is why men are just not helping him develop into a man.
Oh boy! This works on so many levels. It's such this exchange between Game Over It and this clinical psychologist is such a wonderful microcosm of our culture, including the couch potato. That's the pro gamer. Clay and Wheeling, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The world needs ditch diggers too, Danny.
It really does. Yeah, very good. Thanks for the call. Yeah, Judge Schmales was right. And, he sent boys younger than Danny to the gas chamber, to the electric chair. He said, I sent younger boys here to the gas chamber, not because I wanted to, but because I felt I owed it to them. Yeah, that's some positive motivation. Rick, Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Hey, you said the part about the live-in boyfriend, and Amy said, yeah, you never live with anybody unless you're married to him. Mm-hmm. And all I know with me, even if I was married, I still would want to have my own house. I live here, you live there. And I think I would get along great.
A lot of people do that.
Hey, Rick, this segment is why Dan Proft is single, not why Rick from Downers Grove is single. Stop stepping on my toes.
I'm going to stay that way.
Yeah. That there is more. That I saw something a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so did I.
That more and more couples are living apart.
Mm-hmm. That they'll have their homes. Joy Behar from The View was talking about it too, because she lives separate from her husband, because that's how they make it work. And who else? Oh, Gwyneth Paltrow.
If I was Joy Behar's husband, I would live in Antarctica.
Stop it. I think Gwyneth Paltrow. She has her house, and her new husband has his house too.
Not enough room for the candles and the husband. Right.
People like to have their alone time. They do.
Yeah.
And that's why so many people, I'm telling you, got divorced during the pandemic, because all these, ladies in Lakeview whose husband traveled all the time, they were home for the first time probably ever. And then they realized, ooh, I married this? I don't want to be married anymore. So they got divorced.
So that street is a one-way street, is it?
Oh, I'm sure. Right. The guys, too, are probably, I married this.
No,
I don't want to be gender biased. You're right.
The guys, too, I know what I married, which is why I get out of the house at 5:30 every morning and don't come home until dark. Why do I want to go there? It's my wife and kids live there. I don't want to be there. Yeah. That whole living, I don't know.
Do you know anybody? I know a married couple that they don't live together.
I know a divorced couple that lives together.
Oh, yes.
There's also that.
Yep, there's that too.
There's that whole dynamic, because whatever, it just makes more economic sense, and I don't know, you've learned to suppress some of the hate enough that you can live together without killing each other. It doesn't turn into War of the Roses.
Lisa Marie Presley lived with her ex-husband, or her first husband.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a great example. Well, yeah, I don't know. But I mean, that's, you don't want it to be blindly attached to cliches, but I mean, what is the point of that exactly? Like, what's the point of being married if you're not? Well,
you're still there for each other. You just, see each other occasionally or every other week.
You're just there, right? Like I'm there for my buddies who have, the standing tea time at Cog Hill once a week. That's the concept.
No, I mean, if there's an emergency, they're there, and you love them, and you just, then it's more special. What did she tell me? She said it's not more special, because it's not really.
Oh yeah, the time is limited, so it's more precious.
Right, right, and they're closer because of it.
That's great spin.
Because they have quality time together when they are together.
I could be persuaded on that. That's pretty good spin.
I think that would work for you.
Yeah.
And then your hypothetical children, maybe one could live with you, one could live with her in a different house.
I mean, as self-delusions go, I like that. That's a pretty good one. Yeah. The time we spend once a week together, it's just so much
you get
more meaningful.
Done, and it's more meaningful, and absence makes the heart grow fonder.
I've heard that.
So
let's do a little bit more absence. Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
I'm not opposed to it. I don't, whatever.
Frank and Lamont.
Hey guys, good morning. I got to take issue with Amy's advice to the ladies that they have to help him develop into a man. Ladies, if you didn't pick a man in the first place, okay, the idea that you're going to develop him into a man, I don't know. I don't know about these millennials and Gen Zs.
I know, I'm worried
Frank,
about it too.
Frank, for millennials and Gen Zs, don't tell us, and don't tell millennials and Gen Zs. Go tell all those middle-aged guys in Hinsdale, or middle-aged women in Hinsdale, I should say, about who they married.
About who they married.
Exactly. Thanks, Frank. Yeah, there's whole communities around Chicago.
Remember when men were men, and they shoveled, and they did their lawn, and they helped pick up garbage on the street and clear the street sewer when it rains? Everybody outsources everything.
Well, women.
I never see men out. I do everything, and I don't see them anywhere now. The one man that lived across the street, he moved to Michigan during the pandemic. That's it. I'm stuck.
I mean, the old school.
Who's got a power drill?
The old school dude is a dinosaur. I mean, and it's because let's distribute the blame here a little bit, because it's also women who choose, like, I just want an effete husband, who's got a good job at an accounting firm or a law firm or something, so I can live comfortably, I can steamroll him, and then we'll raise, kids, and we'll raise our little peahat kids, and then we'll just continue the cycle. I get taken care of, and he's sort of just there to make sure the bills are paid. Or even you have like a two professional
Right.
family, the wife and the husband, and he also gets steamrolled in that circumstance as well because women like. I mean, the thing like women like strong men. Yeah, sort of.
Some of us do.
I think a lot of women have been brainwashed into liking these and marrying these pea hats that they just steamroll over.
That's.
Don't you? I see that all the time.
I see that too.
I mean, it's anecdotal, but as I said, I mean, you can't swing a dead cat in some of these suburbs without hitting a whole.
Just
gaggle of these men.
If I could give some unsolicited advice, don't marry a dude that doesn't have a power drill. Okay, or a stud finder, or can build something, or
what
can
is this,
help.
home improvement?
I like tool time. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. My best Tim Allen there. Chris and Carrie.
Hey, good morning, guys. This guy in the example needs to have the crap slapped out of him. I know
exactly.
Three examples. I have a relative who both he and his wife game. I have two friends who game, and the common denominator, all that, their kids are fracking nightmares. They get in trouble in school. They're bad students because they game along with their parents. They're nightmare children because their parents are children. Get away from this guy as fast as you can.
Yeah, I bet he's in great shape, too. Thanks for the call, Chris.
Maybe he was in that Lori Lightfoot commercial, where the two dudes are on the couch playing video games.
It could have been one of them.
Could have been one of them.
Good prototype.
When I saw that, I'm like, really? Come on. Look at them. Look, she's domineering, and with these two men on the couch.
It's representative. Yeah, it's representative. She knows her audience. Bill on the Northwest Side.
Good morning, guys. What she needs to do is set a deadline for this dude. Give him 90 days to get a full-time job where he has to get up every morning and go to it. It can be any kind of a full-time job, and if he doesn't do that, he's going to find his bags on the curb.
There you go. Thanks for the call, Bill. Chuck Delavan. Oh, this will be good.
Well, it's funny that you got this thing on her today. This is the 4th year anniversary of when I met my beautiful girlfriend. She lives
beautiful.
by herself. I live by myself.
See?
And she visits me Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's all we do. I mean, we talk daily once in a while. And it's about her anniversary.
We talk daily once in a while. Okay.
That's a commitment.
But see, I'm going to get her some flowers today and have them sent to her house. And she hates when I do that. So that'll be good. That'll make her really mad. And that's, and we're not going out for dinner. We're not doing nothing to celebrate it. And I'm glad she's a cougar because she's older than me.
She is beautiful. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I've met her, and you two dance so wonderfully together.
That's the key. The
It's really
dancing keeps them together. Right? The dancing keeps you together. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. The dancing does keep us together. Every weekend we go out. It's going to be
Chuck,
an action-packed weekend this weekend.
Chuck, I'm going to nominate you to be one of the experts for NPR to deal with the next letter they get at the Life Kit, for their Life Kit segment. Would you do that? Would you tackle one of these letters of a forlorn person looking for some relationship advice?
I agree with the last caller. Make him go get a job. He's got 90 days to get a job. Otherwise, they can throw his stuff out on the front yard. That's
there
it.
You go.
I agree with the last caller.
All right, Chuck. Thanks, Chuck. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Why not Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago? The criminals won't like Willie Wilson in the mayor's office. Fighting crime is Willie Wilson's first priority. The city isn't safe. The city streets, the CTA, are not safe. Willie Wilson knows that personally.
My son was murdered. I know the anger, and I know the pain.
Willie Wilson is ready to take on the criminals. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
Turbulent times call for clear-headed insight. That's hard to come by these days, especially on TV. That's where we come in. The new Salem News Channel, the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. Home to the people you trust. Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Refreshingly honest, always unfiltered. Streaming free on your TV 24/7. Intelligent analysis for intelligent people. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Thousands of young people are dying from counterfeit prescription drugs laced with lethal doses of fentanyl.
Never take a pill unless it comes from your pharmacist. We lost my 18-year-old son who had a very bright future ahead of him, and it was stolen.
Just one counterfeit pill laced with fentanyl can kill. Visit onepillkilled.org.
onepillkilled.org.
onepillkilled.org to learn more.
America First with Sebastian Gorka. Today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com. On the AM 560 mobile app. Tune in, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Republicans swipe back. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
It's shameful that this guy would use MLK Day to lie to the American people.
Congressman Jim Banks, who claims President Biden and Democrats overspent the past 2 years, spiking inflation, not happy the president chose a Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast in Washington to say this about Republicans.
These guys are the fiscally demented, I think. They don't quite get it.
The president touted that the Democrats have reduced the deficit.
The U.S. is set to hit the debt ceiling on Thursday. The Treasury says they are going to have to take extraordinary measures to avoid a default. And at some point, Republicans and Democrats are going to have to sit down and figure out a long-term solution. For now, it sounds like both sides are pretty far apart.
Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House. Also on MLK Day, gunfire ruins a family event and car show at a Fort Pierce, Florida park. 8 people were shot. One's in critical condition. 4 others were hurt as people scurried.
It was mass chaos, as you can imagine, when shots ring out with, there were 1,000+ people here.
St. Lucie County Deputy Chief Brian Hester says there have been no arrests. At least 2 suspects being sought in California in a mass murder. 6 people found shot dead, including a mother and a baby.
We believe that this was a targeted family.
Tulare County Sheriff Mike Boudreau thinks it might be gang-related. COVID keeps hitting China hard. Amid a massive recent surge in cases, we find out its population shrank last year for the first time in 60 years, with the lowest birth rate on record, and China's economic growth also slowed to the lowest in decades. Now what? That's the big question for Tom Brady, again, after he and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost on Monday Night Playoff Football, beaten 31-14 by Dallas. Brady's 45, unretired before the season, said after the game.
This has been a lot of focus on, this game, so, yeah, it's just be one day at a time.
America's listening. 39 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County Sheriff's Office is confirming the remains of a missing Downers Grove woman may have been found. Cheyenne Cluse was 22 when she was last seen leaving home November of 2017. It's not known where or how the Cluse remains were found. University of Illinois Chicago faculty members are going on strike today. Negotiations have been ongoing for 9 months. Compensation, the key issue. With the strong majority of Illinois sheriffs saying they will not enforce Illinois' gun ban and registry, the state attorney general is now arguing there are other ways to do that job. AM 560's Greg Bishop joins us with more on the brewing controversy in Springfield.
States attorneys from across the state have said they won't enforce a gun ban and registry, saying it violates Illinoisans' rights in the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Absent a court order, the ban is law. Attorney General Kwame Raoul said Friday if local law enforcement won't act, someone will.
As law enforcement agencies, there's overlap in jurisdiction as well. So if they don't do their jobs, there are other people available to do the job.
Rhonda Izell, who was a lead plaintiff in a case several years ago successfully challenging Chicago gun restrictions, said gun owners in Illinois need to stand up for their rights.
They don't care what color you are, where you reside, where you live, where you work. Their goal is to disarm America, and they made that very clear.
I'm Greg Bishop.
Chicago sports. Cowboys punched their ticket to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, routing Tampa Bay 31-14. Number 23, Illinois dominates the Golden Gophers at the Barn 78-60 with a win over Minnesota. Houston's Cougars, again, the top team In college basketball, followed by Kansas, Purdue, a winner yesterday, Alabama and UCLA. The news service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher says we're jumping to conclusions again.
And right away, people were taking to social media, people are dying suddenly, don't get the vaccine. They immediately linked this cardiac event to a vaccine, the COVID vaccine, without one shred of evidence that was the case.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
You've worked hard your entire life to provide for yourself and family, but the one thing you can provide them that will last forever is your legacy. For over 180 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago in helping them set their legacies in stone. With interest-free financing and low monthly payments, now is the time to set your final wishes in place. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 today to schedule a free consultation.
I've told you about my lower back pain and how kneeling in church on Sunday was becoming nearly unbearable. Sebastian Gorka here. I've also told you about how Relief Factor has helped almost eliminate my pain. Now, let me tell you what Robert in California says about his experience with Relief Factor. Robert writes, I didn't think Relief Factor was working until I ran out mid-month. After about 3 days, the pain was back to where it started. It was a great test for me to see how much Relief Factor really works. 3 weeks from now, you could be doing the things you enjoy doing and living the life you love. Your first step to becoming pain-free from aches and pains from daily living could be just to order the 3-week quick start for only $19.95. After trying Relief Factor, over 500,000 people have gone on to order more. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF to find out about this offer. That's ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. Feel the difference with Relief Factor.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Christian Faith Publishing helps thousands of authors just like you publish their books with a company dedicated to strong Christian values. And to help you get started, we want to send you our free writer's guide, packed with tips, tricks, and templates for authors. Christian Faith Publishing reviews every book submitted to us. And if your book is approved, we'll edit, design, print, promote, and distribute your book online and in stores everywhere. Imagine seeing your book in specialty Christian bookstores, Amazon, iTunes, Barnes & Noble, and many others. It all starts with a completed manuscript and one call to Christian Faith Publishing at 800-566-1012. If you have a novel, children's book, poetry, biography, or any inspirational work you've written, we can help you get it published today. Shouldn't you work with a publisher who shares your Christian values of integrity and honesty? You can get your book published. Get your free writer's guide today. Call 800-566-1012. That's 800-566-1012. 800-566-1012.
Hi, I'm Dave Nissen, CEO of PKF Mueller. The current COVID pandemic has been a challenge for all of us, and many businesses struggled and experienced financial distress. Businesses are focused on recovering now, and fortunately, several government programs are available to ease this process. One such program is the Employee Retention Credit, or ERC, an incentive program designed to bolster businesses that were able to retain their employees during the COVID pandemic. Companies may be eligible for up to $26,000 per employee if they qualify, and they may be eligible even if they previously participated in the Payroll Protection Program, or PPP. Most importantly, this is not a loan. No repayment is required. Billions of dollars are still available, yet many companies are underutilizing this credit due to IRS changes on eligibility. Our dedicated ERC team can help to discover if your business is eligible, determine the amount, and assist with the filing of the credit. Contact me directly to learn more at 630-524-5274 or online at pkfmueller.com.
It is 7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of the Salem Podcast Network. Hear the latest podcast episodes from Charlie Kirk, Trish Regan, many more. Subscribe free at salempodcastnetwork.com. Fire on the west side, blocking Cicero southbound near Fulton this morning. I-65 in northwest Indiana, trouble spot between 15th Avenue and Dunes Highway. Tri-State jam solid northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood on DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Disabled vehicle right lane blocked northbound at North Avenue. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jammed up northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. Bishop Ford slammed solid 111th into the Ryan merge. There are slowdowns this morning on the Stevenson between Harlem Avenue and Kedzie. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and a stray shower this morning. Breezy day, high 42. Cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Low tonight 34, high tomorrow 40. Rain or snow shower on Thursday. Breezy and a high near 40. Plan with confidence. Check AccuWeather.com today. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
39 at O'Hare. Next news 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. James Hankins is one of the last of the Mohicans in the Ivy League. Just an outstanding intellectual, history professor at Harvard. He writes in a recent op-ed with some advice and counsel for the new House Republican majority, and I like the idea. He writes, if you look at conservative media these days, a constant theme is how you're not allowed to say things anymore. They, quote unquote, won't let you. You'll be deplatformed, canceled, fired. You can't challenge progressive orthodoxies about climate change or fossil fuels. You can't question the teaching of gender ideology or anti-racism in public schools. Students are afraid to push back against professors. Employees don't want to tangle with HR departments over politicized mission statements. You can't contest the conduct of tech companies or the FBI. Many people now sense the progressive left has a hammerlock on public opinion through its control of most media, the universities, Hollywood, and the DI apparatus of every large company. Decisions are made that degrade the quality of life for the little guy whose voice can't be heard. So, what could House Republicans do? Hankins writes, what if the new House were to challenge the information oligarchy by holding televised debates in the House that address the very questions the little guy is, quote-unquote, not allowed to raise? I don't mean members of the House should themselves debate these questions. Anybody who has watched congressmen debate before cameras in empty chambers knows that such an exercise would have no effect. I mean the House should sponsor its own chamber formal evening debates, Oxford Union style, on questions of public concern. What should be done about climate change? How can government best support the middle and lower income families? How can government strengthen the family? Should government regulate social media? If so, how? Bring in Joel Kotkin, the great academic from Chapman University who's written a book I've recommended many times, The Coming Neo-Feudalism, to talk about middle-income families. Bjorn Lomborg, our friend, to talk from the Copenhagen Consensus Institute, to talk about climate policy. Mary Eberstadt on family policy. Jonathan Haidt on social media. Let Democrats nominate progressives to represent their point of view. Let's have a real debate on issues that affect the American people. Let the American people once and for all, for once, I should say, hear all sides. Yeah, and importantly, hear them side by side. So whether Oxford Union style or, firing line style, the Bill Buckley version of firing line, not this ghastly bastardization of it that's on now. I love the idea. You got to make arguments. You have to make arguments. And particularly in the age of social media, this is great content to be sliced and diced and distributed and bandied about on social media, argued about on social media. Good. I have confidence in some of those intellects that Professor Hankins mentioned. See how much confidence the left has in their intellects. Where's their modern-day John Kenneth Galbraith? Does such a person exist anymore? I think that'd be really interesting. And it's about time to do some things that, break from the customary way of adjudicating public policy fights. And, frankly, do it in an unfiltered way such that it's more difficult for the D.C. press corps to spin, to comport to their selected narratives. What do you think? Let's ask another intellect, Peter Berkowitz. He's a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, former director of policy planning at the State Department. His writings are posted at peterberkowitz.com. Peter, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
What about Professor Hankins's little firing line, Oxford Union-style debate idea?
I love the idea. It reminds me actually of how the Federalist Society, great organization, originally created by students, actually shot to influence within the academy, the legal academy. They hit on this idea. The academy was excluding, as you were suggesting, as Professor Hankin has suggested, conservative voices. But it was difficult for the academy, the legal academy, to resist the Federalist Society's proposal to hold debates. Now, to hold a debate, even the law schools had to acknowledge back then that you needed a representative of, let's say, the progressive point of view. I could say the established point of view in the law school. And you needed the opposing point of view, the conservative point of view. So you could say it was a way that by championing debates, you could say that the Federalist Society smuggled conservatives in, except that the Federalist Society genuinely believed, as you suggested, in the value of hearing multiple sides of an issue and letting the best argument win. They genuinely believe that. And in doing so, they want a hearing for conservative voices. This would dramatize how far our universities, Professor Hankin's suggestion would dramatize how far our universities have deviated from what ought to be their mission by making the House of Representatives a place where you expect hard-hitting political debate, becoming the home to serious intellectual debate, because our university, among real intellectuals, among journalists, among professors, because universities aren't allowing that to happen. I love the idea.
Yeah, it's genius. I mean, I know that you follow and have been following what's happened on college campuses for some time, but even 3 decades ago when I was on a college campus, that was still, even as political correctness was present and speech codes were being imposed, you still had the Phyllis Schlafly and Sarah Weddington debates on college campuses around the country, and even some sort of spectacle-type debates, but that were still interesting, like G. Gordon Liddy and Timothy Leary doing college campus tours. You don't have any of that anymore. For one, as Professor Hankins points out, so many conservatives aren't even allowed on college campuses, much less to debate side by side. But it's not that far removed from a way that we used to understand what the campus was, and frankly, beyond the campus, that we used to understand what is interesting is credentialed people to some extent, through work product, not just meaningless credentials like a BA, but through work product, arguing on the merits, uninterrupted, on the issues of the day. And that's why, for gosh sakes, that's why Bill Buckley's Fireline program was on for 30 years.
I agree. And I even have a proposal to assist Professor Hankin. Here's an issue that the House should begin with. Let's debate the wisdom of the First Amendment. On campus, as you know, it's very popular to say that freedom of speech is harmful, needs to be limited. Freedom of speech causes damage to people and invalidates their humanity. But let's see outside of the universities people seriously taking the stand that the First Amendment is an unwise feature of our Constitution. And let's also hear the best arguments. People need to be reminded of the great achievement which the First Amendment represents.
Yeah, I like that. And also, too, I mean, so sticking with the First Amendment, the freedom of the press, I mean, you wrote recently about the state of journalism as it continues to deteriorate. And one of the things, speaking of Firing Line and NPR, is that it's sort of below the fold, because why would the D.C. press corps talk about it? you have a real consolidation of financing of private journalism from quasi-public entities. You have legislators proposing to formally fund private newspapers in places like Illinois. You have NPR buying the Chicago Sun-Times. You know, they can use nonprofits, including at least partially taxpayer-funded nonprofits, to support news outlets that carry their point of view, even if they can't generate subscribers to allow those newspapers to exist independently.
Yes, there's reason to be deeply concerned about all of this. My own view is that which I believe is consistent with American constitutional government, is that the government needs to really get out of the business of regulating the expression of opinion in this country. I occasionally talk with students who remained, and understandably so, they're young, tempted by the idea that why shouldn't the government advance correct opinion? Wouldn't it be better for us to believe what's true than what's false? Unfortunately, all historical experience taught us that the people who hold power are not responsible enough to have the authority to regulate opinion. So,
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, so big government shouldn't be regulating big tech.
Yeah, I'm with you. They disgrace themselves in regard to COVID. We could start with just this one question, which I got to see up close and personal when I was in government. You may recall that in March or so of 2020, both Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, to whom I was a senior advisor at the time, and Senator Tom Cotton floated the possibility that COVID-19 had its origins in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. By the way, the only laboratory in all of China that engaged in research on coronaviruses like COVID-19. They were denounced as conspiracy theorists, and Facebook refused to allow that opinion, that speculation, to be expressed. Well, by now it's clear that the weight of opinion, certainly, I should say, opinion suggests that this is a very reasonable hypothesis. Evidence suggests this is a very reasonable hypothesis these days. I have colleagues close to it who have no doubt about the matter. It was Facebook regulated the expression of this opinion because they believe it violated, conflicted with a narrative that they wanted to press. They can't be trusted either.
Well, it's actually worse than that. We know from the Twitter files, and we know from Mark Zuckerberg's own utterances on the Joe Rogan show, is that they were collaborating with government to regulate speech. And so they're in service of the state. And that's a huge problem. And it seems to me it's just like this simple question. I mean, the idea, the hubris it takes to believe that one person or some group of people represent the oracle of truth. And so, you just wait for, you go up to the mountaintop to get the received wisdom from the oracle, and then the debate is over. I mean, that is the antithesis of living in a free society. That is the opposite of being a free, sentient being. And that's, I would think that used to be relatively obvious, but it is very much in doubt these days. And to the point of these debates, I think it'd be great. This needs to get to Kevin McCarthy and House Republican leadership somehow, some way.
I think you're right, and you in a way alluded to the greatest example of what you're talking about. Not only is it the antithesis of a free society, it's the antithesis of science. You remember when Dr. Fauci declared that to disagree with him is to disagree with the science. Mm-hmm. No proposition could be further removed from what science means. If science doesn't invite disagreement and challenge, because after all, way back when, all Senator Cotton and Secretary Pompeo were doing was saying, we need to investigate this possibility. Right. And by the way, we know from correspondence that the director of the Institute of Health, Francis Collins, and Fauci conspired to keep this view off the public record and censor it at Twitter and Facebook.
It's such a Pompeo and Cotton were arguing for the scientific method, and the scientific community was arguing against it.
That's right, although it's very interesting. Initially, the scientific community did not, but eventually Fauci and Collins helped persuade the scientific community to side with them. But you'll recall that 3 of the world's most distinguished epidemiologists drafted something that was called the Great Barrington Declaration. Mm-hmm. Now, this did not take sides on the origins of COVID-19, but it did propose a response to the pandemic that differed from the one that had become accepted by the media and by social media. And they were routinely vilified by establishment science. That's not how science operates, not through vilification. It doesn't operate by refusing to consider the evidence. It operates by considering the evidence, testing the evidence, actually welcoming dissenters into the fold and saying, thank you for expressing an alternative point of view. Now we can test your views against our views.
Well, the other thing about this debate idea, too, is I don't know what your view is, but I don't, and I know you talked in your piece about what J schools could do if they wanted to renew any sobriety with respect to journalism, but they're not going to do that. And so I don't think change can come from the inside in these institutions. They're so monolithic in viewpoint. So I think something like House Republican-sponsored debates, serious debates on the issues of the day, it's going to take exogenous events like that to get any of these institutions to change their ways because, there's no real impetus for them to do so.
I agree that we cannot expect the universities to be the major source of their own reform. That said, we need to encourage all the small groups of students and beleaguered faculty who not only remain committed to the First Amendment. I think it's more than a small free amendment. I should say freedom of speech because, of course, the First Amendment doesn't govern private universities. But not only is there a small minority who's willing to speak out, but there's a larger group, I think, that lacks the courage, but nevertheless is committed. So we should encourage action within the university, but we should also encourage private efforts, private educational undertakings. I'm involved in some of them in Washington. We should encourage more. And I want to circle back, as you have, to where you began. It's a terrific idea to use the Congress's oversight powers to conduct open debates on the issues and model for the nation what ought to be going on in our universities. Look, we need in the country such debates. And if universities won't fulfill their mission, actually do the thing for which we give them all sorts of tax breaks, then let the House of Representatives do it. And let us hope that the House of Representatives goes beyond shaming them to providing a model to which they could start living up.
He is Peter Berkowitz, Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution, former Director of Policy Planning at the State Department. You can find his writings at peterberkowitz.com. Peter, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who participated in our Food for the Poor campaign. Because of your generosity, guess what? We're able to feed 5,000 kids and counting in Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, these are children and families that simply would not have food without your generous donations. But just because the holiday season is over, that doesn't mean the need has gone away. So if you haven't already, you can still make a donation by visiting 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. And listen up, if you're a business owner, let's do that business benefactor program. What it is a one-time donation of $2,500, and we will give you 41-minute commercials. It's the best way to elevate your business. It is the best deal in all of Chicagoland radio. Here's what you do. Call Anjanette Natowski. Her number's 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951. Or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
So, how's it going with your New Year's resolutions? Not so great? Are you truly committed to trying something new, or was it all just talk? Things that seem so doable on New Year's Eve are getting tougher, aren't they? Here's the secret: developing a new routine. Make your New Year's resolutions part of your everyday routine. Find a time that works for you. Say yes to exercise and stick to it. The pounds will come off. Same goes for your blood pressure. If it's too high, check out my friends at 120 Life. 120 Life is the natural juice drink that helps lower your blood pressure without the side effects of pills. One tiny 8-ounce bottle is all it takes as part of your new daily routine. Just say, I will drink 120 Life every day. The rest just happens. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. and order their 2-week trial pack. Order now and enjoy their risk-free money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code DAN at checkout to save 10%. 120 Life, a resolution in a bottle. We need more stuff like this.
Exercise more, lose 10 pounds. Tired of New Year's resolutions you can't keep? Here's one you can keep: saving more for retirement. If you're a small business owner, independent professional, consultant, or self-employed individual, according to the IRS, you may be able to save up to $265,000 a year pre-tax. You may think, I already have a retirement plan. I can't put away that much each year for retirement. No, you can't. Not with a traditional retirement plan, but you can with a defined benefit plan. A defined benefit plan is IRS approved and a way for high-income earners to begin to catch up on their retirement savings pre-tax. We call it a retirement accelerator. Visit yourretirementaccelerator.com to download their guide to see if you might qualify. That's yourretirementaccelerator.com. This year, make a resolution you can keep. This advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be relied on as financial advice. Any specific recommendations are provided only after understanding your entire financial situation.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm in the medical field, and I think when you start out these things, everything from the advertisement sounds so good that you're psyched up for it to work. It's working. Anyway, I'm happy.
Balance of Nature has made a big difference. It's just one of the greatest products, and it's just so simple, and it works.
Balance of Nature is a fantastic product. You could tell it's real. You could taste it. And it gives you really good energy, and it's just right up there with rent, electric cable, like things that you have to have. I'm not cutting Balance of Nature. No, I love it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Here's a salient question in Chicagoland. When do property taxes become theft? We'll start there with Ted Dabrowski from wirepoints.org, our weekly conversation, all things Illinois policy related at 7:37.
But first, we're going to swing by the newsroom to get the latest here at home. Here is Mike Scott.
39 degrees. 7:32 is our time. At least 8 are injured, one critically after being shot during a Martin Luther King Jr. Day event in Florida on Monday. Chief Deputy Brian Hester is with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office.
Multiple people were shot. It sounds like from our initial investigation here on scene, there was a disagreement of some sort between two parties, and unfortunately, they chose to resolve that with guns.
It happened in the community of Fort Pierce. At least 25 are unaccounted for after a Russian missile strike on an apartment building in southeast Ukraine over the weekend. The attack left 40 dead. 3 weeks of relentless rain winding down in California, giving the state a break from storms that have turned neighborhoods into lakes, roads into rivers. Gas prices are up again. AAA reporting today's national average price for regular $3.32 a gallon. Cook County Sheriff's Office confirming the remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. Cheyenne Cluse was 22 when she was last seen leaving her home in November of 2017. However, it's not known where or how the Cluse remains were found. Power back on at all buildings on the Illinois State University campus. Some buildings on campus experienced power outages yesterday. Electricians were called in to try and repair the issue. Maryville High School in Indiana mourning the death of a football player, 18-year-old Jonathan Brown. Died after being shot last Friday night at a Buffalo Wild Wings restaurant in Homewood, Illinois. A second 18-year-old male, also from Maryville, was wounded in the shooting. John Duran on to bigger and better things, lest you think that soccer in America isn't growing just a little bit. The Fire Striker has been transferred to Aston Villa, traded, if you will, of the English Premier League. It will be worth $22 million and the second largest outgoing transfer in the history of the MLS. Cowboys punched their playoff ticket to the divisional round, beating Tom Brady and the Bucs 31-14. Number 23 Illinois dominates Minnesota in a 78-60 win in the Twin Cities. The news is a service of the Daybreak Insider podcast. The day's most important stories each weekday morning at the Daybreak Insider podcast. Subscribe free, daybreakinsider.com. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explains the consequences.
You are now seeing several uniparty candidates say, I'm going to go caucus with Democrats. By having a uniparty, it would basically effectively destroy the United States House of Representatives being in the Republican direction.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. Elections have consequences, and the Democrats know it. That's why there appears to be a lot of concern now by those on the left side of the aisle over issues that previously were not discussed. Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, visited the border, and his welcoming city isn't welcoming illegal immigrants anymore. He says there's no more room for migrants bust up from the border in his town of nearly 9 million people. Ditto for other Democrat mayors around the country. Adam Schiff, Democrat congressman and chief nemesis to President Trump, says Biden may have jeopardized national security after classified documents were found in Biden's garage. That's a massive about-face for Schiff. The revelations of the collusion between Twitter and government agencies gets more alarming every day. Independent reporters looking at Twitter emails say every federal agency was involved in suppressing speech and that the FBI paid Twitter to do so. No sane American thinks that's okay. With Republicans in charge of Congress, investigations are starting on all of the above and more. And it's a perilous time for Democrats. Their only hope to hang on to the presidency in 2024 is to pretend they are equally appalled by the lawlessness going on. They know the majority of Americans believe in fair play. After all, that's why we invented instant replay in sports. Americans won't tolerate a two-tiered justice system or wanton disregard for our laws once they see it. The left has gone too far. Watch as they now say anything to try to hold on to power. Don't let them pretend they care about the rule of law or fair play. Their actions show they don't. I'm Jeannie Ives. Get involved. Start by being more informed. Listen to my podcast and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com. That's breakthrough-ideas.com.
Now, another satisfied client of Turnkey.
Hi, this is Bill Peters, Senior Marketing and Communications Director for Green Ladder Technologies in Batavia. In March of 2021, we received a call from our IT service provider that they were shutting down all IT functions and computer support in 30 days. Our family of companies relies on 100% uptime to maintain all aspects of our businesses, from fulfilling customer orders to managing logistics, payroll, and more. As AM 560 listeners, we knew about Turnkey and called them immediately. We needed to transition our servers from multiple companies, our hardware, and data in less than 30 days with zero interruption and downtime. They immediately stepped in and worked with us to avoid a catastrophic shutdown. In less than 3 weeks, we transitioned seamlessly with Turnkey. Today, Green Ladder Technologies continues to partner with Turnkey for all of our IT support.
Let Turnkey be the centerpiece for change in your business so you can get the most out of it.
Visit turnkey.pro today. Turnkey.pro.
You don't need special gadgets to be a hero. With unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere, the Capital One Quicksilver Card makes you the hero of every purchase. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
7:38. Let's get an update on the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, West Side, Garfield Park neighborhood. Kenton Avenue, both north and southbound between Fulton and Lake, shut down due to a major structure fire being fought right now by Chicago Fire. Inbound on the Edens, solid from Toohey to Montrose, 27 in from Lake Cook Road. Kennedy in, it's almost an hour now from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike in, 65 minutes from 390 to the old post office. Stevenson, just under an hour from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the Dan Ryan, about 25 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mostly cloudy, stray shower this morning, then becoming breezy by the afternoon, a high of 42. Currently 39. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, and we've got some exciting news this morning we brought to you at the outset of the show.
Yeah.
Bring to you again, because I don't want people to miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, investment opportunity.
Oh, yeah. People, listen up. This is big.
You thought probably you're just a little guy. You'll never have a chance to invest in government housing, in homeless shelters, in tree equity. Well, you'd be wrong, thanks to Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
This is Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and I am proud to announce that as a Chicago resident or individual investor, you can now invest directly in our beloved city by purchasing Chicago social bonds. These social bonds will fund a portion of the Chicago Recovery Plan, which is making $1.2 billion in equitable, transformative investments in our city. The Chicago Recovery Plan includes nearly $1 billion in affordable housing projects, $117 million in homelessness and transitional housing support, $110 million in community economic development, $46 million for the largest tree planting initiative in the city's history, and $41 million for full light-duty city vehicle electrification over the next 5 years. The first series of social bonds to fund the Chicago Recovery Plan will be sold in the week of January 16, 2023, and will fund essential projects such as the construction of more than 2,000 units of affordable housing, the establishment of safe and clean emergency shelter space for people experiencing homelessness, the cleanup and sale of over 5,000 vacant city lots, and the planting next year of 15,000 trees citywide. These bonds are being offered exclusively to the residents of Chicago and individual investors before any banks or large investors. That means Chicagoans and individual investors will have the first pick when purchasing Chicago social bonds and investing in the future of our city and your community. To learn more about the STSC and to participate in this historic transaction that will transform our city, please contact your broker or visit chicago.gov/social bonds.
Brokers' lines are lighting up across the city, to be sure. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm taking all the money I made at FTX. I'm going to shovel it right into this bond program. When people ask me someday, hey, Dan, how'd you make all your money? I'm going to be able to say the city's tree planting program.
$46 million for 15K trees. You're hugging a tree. We got a text message that said, if I invest in the city bonds program, what the heck do I get? An empty police car driving around? Oh, no, I want my name on a paddy wagon.
For more on this, Ted Dabrowski, president of wirepoints.org, joins us. Ted, boy, this is a deal you want to get in on the ground floor of, right?
Well, you guys are slow. I've already purchased my bond.
Have you?
Get on
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is the perfect example of kind of like, you know, the sign of the beginning of the end of Chicago in the current makeup. This is a great example of, you know, it's absurd. It's almost like an onion piece, right? You don't really know if it's true or not. And you know, here you've got a junk-rated city, massive crime, got all these huge problems, and it's going to borrow its way to what she's calling the Chicago Recovery Plan. So it's really, you know, her equity program run amok. You know, the second part of it is, you know, I'm surprised. It's like a massive campaign thing for her, right? She's being able to use city resources, look at herself promoting it. You know, you can be part of this. It's a perfect time to do this in her campaign. And, you know, you can, yeah, like you said, you can fix housing problems. You can fix the root causes of crime, violence prevention, and all that. You can electrify the city's light-duty fleet. So, but you know, what's amazing behind this thing, Dan and Amy, is how this bond is structured. And there's little talk about that. And we talked about this a couple of years ago, where to make these bonds sell and to get them safe, they're selling implicit in this as collateral is the city's future sales tax revenues. They've collateralized away the future of Chicago into this bond so that people will buy it. And that's the real story behind everything, but it's a very complex issue, but it's something that should never be done.
Well, also, your colleague Mark Lennon over at WirePoints explained this, and he's long time been a lawyer in this space, so he knows what he's talking about. The entity, the specific entity that's issuing the bonds, the Sales Tax Securitization Corporation, it had to be separate and distinct from the city so that it was essentially insulated from bankruptcy to guarantee return on those who would purchase these bonds, which also speaks to the financial state of the city, in addition to the politics of it. Rather than increase taxes to fund this Chicago recovery program, we'll get people who are, you know, woke dopes to buy these bonds.
Yeah, and you know, Mark hit on this really hard early on. It's like, and I love his term. You know, Chicago's selling body parts to raise money, and that, you know, you're selling your future tax revenues. You're having to create something called bankruptcy remote so that the bankers will lend to it. Otherwise, it's a real mess for Chicago to raise money, given it's a junk-rated city.
It's great stuff, and it's almost exciting as the snowplow naming contest. I don't know which will get more participation. I want to get to something else too that you wrote about over at WirePoints. This is an interesting case. This case that is now being leveled up by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's going to hear a case about property taxation that becomes a government taking. And the example that was highlighted in the Minneapolis Star Tribune, 93-year-old woman in Minnesota lost her home to the government because she was delinquent in paying $2,300 in property taxes. The government took her home and then sold it for $40,000 and pocketed the difference. And we're going to get something. We're going to get some adjudication that may have particular relevance to property tax weary Chicagoans, Chicagolanders, if you will, which is when does property taxation become so usurious that it's a government taking?
Well, yeah. Well, there's two aspects to it. Is, you know, when can they just take your property, sell it, and keep the difference? And that's the big case that the Supreme Court's going to hear. And I think, you know, kudos to Mark for staying on top. As Mark Lennon, you know, he follows what the Supreme Court's doing, and this is a big Illinois problem, as we'll talk about right now. But it was Minnesota that brought it to light. And you know, what's fascinating about this is that, yeah, Minnesota's a troublemaker. But when the Pacific Legal Foundation did a deep dive into this problem, where the government's taking property for people who haven't paid their and sometimes very small amounts in property taxes, and the government's just taking the property or selling the property to others who take the entire property. Illinois is the biggest culprit of this.
Oh yeah,
by far.
These tax sales of property. I mean, they're guys that make a very handsome living pouring through the listing of tax sales.
Yeah, and I'm a little bummed that we didn't hop on this earlier, because I've seen this thing. You see Cook County announce all these properties they want to sell, and it's all weird stuff, but really laid it out well in this piece that the Minnesota wrote on, and then of course that Mark's really highlighted, is that they're able to take over your property or sell it. You sell your tax to somebody else. Somebody else pays it down. Then over a couple of years, if the person who didn't originally pay the property taxes doesn't pay them, then the person who bought the lien gets to take over the property and kick the person out and take over the property. And it's we had 4,700 cases of that, and the amount lost by people in equity in their homes was $400 million.
And they can never get the equity back. That's what you're saying.
No,
Ted?
You don't own the home. The home's taken. Yeah,
there are some exceptions and all that, but but who's losing their homes too, right?
Seniors.
It's not the people in Wilmette and Winnetka. It's lower income people, and you can see that in a map that the Pacific Legal Foundation puts. It's East St. Louis and South Cook. It's a fascinating thing that they get away with here.
Oh yeah, when you look at the listing of properties that are delinquent in their property taxes, I mean the south suburbs dominates in Cook County, and some of the south and west side neighborhoods too. So right, the great vanguard of lower to middle income minority families in Cook County, all these Democrat socialists, and yet who's losing their houses because of usurious property taxes?
Yeah, so that's that part which the Supreme Court will hear. What they're not going to hear and what they don't talk about is the other kind of takings that in theory should be protected, and that's the outright property tax rates that we see in a lot of places in Illinois, especially in South Cook, where the rates are 7%, 8%, 12%, and it's crazy. And I remember Jeannie and I went down to Harvey to kind of raise that issue because nobody else would raise it down there, and it's fascinating when you see what houses sell for, because it's such a mess that nobody wants to buy there anymore.
Yeah, well, I remember we've done many, as you know, property tax analyses at the newspapers I'm a part of. That's fake news, except the Chicago Press Corps is the real fake news that doesn't cover any of this, and certainly not with the level of detail. And the data is the data; it's indisputable. The community in Cook County that has the highest property tax rate as a percentage of home value is
where?
Ford Heights.
Oh, that's
one of the poorest community in Cook County, and one of the poorest communities in the country. 99.9% black. Tell me again about how you're the great protector of the downtrodden, the low-income families, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean,
such a scam.
Yeah, they're the great destroyers. I mean, all those policies destroy all those towns. Of course, the industry left, and then they never did anything to fix things. But and it's not. I've always said it's not just the property tax amount; it's how they destroyed home values. Because when I was down there with Jeannie at the time, the homes in Harvey were selling in the neighborhoods where we were standing in. We're selling for $5,000, $7,000, $12,000. I thought it was a used car sales lot prices. No, these were homes, and it just shows you the destruction. And then the taxes never go down, and so that's how you end up with this really high taxes, really low home value, absurd, percentage of your home that you're paying taxes.
Do you remember if the house was selling for $5,000, how much the property taxes were? Because it wasn't reflective of the sale price.
No, right, and so this is what happened. They'd be crazy, and that's why people would walk away. I wrote the story about the guy I met in Harvey in a subway. He's a young black guy, really nice guy, and we chatted. And I said, what do you do here? And he said, well, I'm just staying in my parents' home. They moved to Mississippi, and I'm still in it. And he said, well, they're trying to sell the home for $50,000. And I said, well, wow, that's really low. And he goes, no, that's not. He said, I don't think they're going to get $5,000 for it. And that's why I wrote the piece, because I couldn't believe that. I didn't know that homes could sell for $5,000.
Well, the homes are
Detroit.
The homes are effectively worth zero, and it's not just there. It's in middle income that used to be affluent communities too, like Flossmoor. Because if you have a $150,000 house and a $15,000 tax bill, which is a real example, then your home is essentially worth nothing. Because who's going to buy a home at that valuation to pay that property tax bill on an annualized basis. What, you're going to pay for your home 5 times over? Are you nuts?
That's right. Yeah, in 10 years you buy a house twice, right? So that's why the home values collapse, because there's no way somebody could actually buy that house at the price you want and pay the tax bill. So boom, they lower the home values, and you're stuck. You're screwed.
And that is theft. I wanted to ask you quickly, Governor Pritzker, he's speaking right now at the World Economic Forum to promote Illinois' accomplishments on the world stage. What did he accomplish?
Oh, well, come on. This is the perfect pitch that he does. He's paid down the bills. He got credit rating upgrades, quote, balance the budget. But he should add at the very end of that is, thank you for the nearly $200 billion in federal bailout money that allowed me to do that. But he won't say that part. But that's the reality. That's what he'll pitch. He's made he's done all the green energy stuff. He's got a lot of stuff to pitch. His progressive bona fides.
And he's running for president.
Help me understand what's happening in Wisconsin, because I don't understand this. The Republican Party controls the legislature in Wisconsin, but they don't have the governorship, so they can't really pass anything substantial. And yet, Wisconsin Republicans have proposed to lower the state's income tax from 7.65% to 3.25%.
Oh. Yeah.
What was so? From Illinois Republicans, I understand that if you don't have control of anything, then you're not supposed to propose anything. You just sit there and take whatever the Democrats give you. So what are Wisconsin Republicans doing?
Yeah, or join in on what the Democrats.
Or join in, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, here's where they're showing leadership. They may not get what they want because Evers is still there, but they're making a huge play and saying that they want to move. This is a fascinating thing. Go back 2 years when Pritzker was trying to get his progressive tax done in Illinois. You're seeing states across the country move towards flat tax rates, and that's what Wisconsin's trying to do. They want to have a 3.5 rate at the top, and they're showing some leadership and saying, here's the direction we need to be in. And why? Because they're competing with other states for investment and for people. And we're not thinking that way. The Republicans here in Illinois aren't thinking that way. They don't know yet how to lead. Let's see if the new the new group can lead. But this is the leadership that these guys have shown in Wisconsin. Kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Ted Dabrowski, president at wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks as always, Ted.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a physician, and I still see patients every day. And, so I tell my patients about this. And they ask me, well, what are you taking? And so I tell them, taking Balance of Nature. And they go, oh, yeah, I've heard about that. So I tell them how to get it. I give them your telephone number, 246-8751. And I tell them, call this number. And I said, they'll take care of you after that. So, I'm primary care. I really think that it works well for people to have fruits and vegetables.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Guys, a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and go to a provider you can trust. I recommend my friends at Low T Center, where I've been getting my levels checked for the past 8 years. Low T Center exclusively specializes in men's wellness. They check all your levels, not just your testosterone, and determine the cause of any symptoms you're having and whether you're a candidate for low T or something else like low thyroid or sleep apnea. Typically, their annual health assessment is completely covered by health insurance, and they check everything, including PSA, your prostate levels, as well as thyroid, liver and kidney function, cholesterol, glucose levels, and more. Low T Center has affordable and convenient options for treatment, including monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to you each month, so there's no need to come to the center each week. Make your health a priority this new year and schedule your annual health assessment at Low T Center today. It's covered by most health insurance or less than $100 cash pay. Visit lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Prof sent you when you do. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Why not Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago? The criminals won't like Willie Wilson in the mayor's office. Fighting crime is Willie Wilson's first priority. The city isn't safe. The city streets, the CTA, are not safe. Willie Wilson knows that personally.
My son was murdered. I know the anger, and I know the pain.
Willie Wilson is ready to take on the criminals. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll talk to Alfredo Ortiz. He's the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network. He's got a new book about minority entrepreneurship that we'll discuss at 8:08.
And later, President Biden, if you're honoring someone, maybe you should know their name. We'll explain, but now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, will the rain finally end today in California? Fox News with the very latest on relentless, drenching rain beginning to wind down, at least for a few days. Remains of a missing Downers Grove woman is found. UIC faculty walking off the job today. One killed, one wounded during a shootout in a St. Charles home invasion. Number 23, Illinois wins on the road in the Big Ten, and the Blackhawks are hosting the Sabres. WIND, Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
They're about to fight over money. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The U.S. will hit our debt limit on Thursday. The Treasury Department says it'll take extraordinary measures to avoid a default, but at some point, House Republicans and President Biden are expected to clash over raising that debt limit. GOP Congressman Jim Banks tells Fox.
There's never been a president in American history, along with his friends in Congress, who have spent more money than this president has over the last couple of years.
President Biden calls Republicans fiscally demented, adding,
I reduced the deficit last year $350 billion.
Now, Republicans also keep demanding to know who visited the Biden residence in Wilmington, Delaware, where classified documents were found from his days as vice president. Fox's Peter Ducey's at the White House and says officials there tell him no visitor logs exist.
The White House thinks there is a precedent here because previous presidents for decades have not kept logs at home. But this really wasn't a possible national security issue until Trump. Liberal groups did sue for Mar-a-Lago visitor logs.
A Republican in New Mexico who refused to concede that he lost a House election is now behind bars.
Albuquerque police say Solomon Pena is the mastermind behind what they classified as a politically motivated conspiracy that led to the shootings at the homes of 2 county commissioners and 2 state lawmakers following the November midterm election.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers is a search for gunmen in 2 other states. It was a mass murder in California. 6 people killed at a home near Visalia, including a teenage mother found holding her dead 6-month-old baby.
It appeared she'd been trying to run away, the mom, when they were gunned down. Deputies found them in a ditch outside the home. The manner and swiftness of the gruesome killings leading investigators to presume it was a gang-related attack.
Fox's Jackie Ibanez. 8 people were shot in a Fort Pierce, Florida park at a Martin Luther King Jr. Day family event and car show. 1's in critical condition. 4 others were hurt in the chaos after. America's listening to Fox News.
39 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County Sheriff's Office is confirming the remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. Cheyenne Cluse was 22 when she was last seen leaving her home in November of 2017. However, it's not known where or how Cluse's remains were found. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office revealing the name of the teen killed in a shooting over the weekend in Des Plaines. Justice Broadway Williams was found shot Sunday night in the 1300 block of Perry Street. 1 man dead, another man wounded following a shootout during a home invasion over the weekend in St. Charles. Police now say officers spotted a man dragging James Garradini out of an apartment Saturday night. Garradini died later at a nearby hospital after suffering a gunshot wound to the chest. An attorney in a case against the state of Illinois and the Department of Corrections says the lawsuit will progress even with the Department of Corrections making changes to its COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Back in April of 2022, a GOP nominee for Attorney General, Thomas DeVore, filed suit against the IDOC. The IDOC has recently made changes, but DeVore says the lawsuit will continue.
Again, right now in front of the 5th Appellate District, we still have a case pending on behalf of my Department of Correction employees, and we're not going anywhere.
DeVore claims the recent change in protocol comes from the IDOC struggling to find workers. Chicago sports, number 23 Fighting Illini dominate the second half in a big win over Minnesota, 78-60 yesterday. College basketball tonight, Valparaiso hosts UIC and Northern Illinois is at Miami. The news, a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands. Go to 560theanswer.com/store. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
There's another round of earnings today from big banks. Goldman Sachs earnings were weaker than forecast, and its revenue declined in the quarter. Goldman was setting aside money in case of an economic downturn. Morgan Stanley's quarter was mixed. Travelers is lowering its expectations for the business because of the impact of the massive winter storm in December that swept across much of the U.S. and Canada. Travelers says the footprint of the storm was substantial, though it was consistent with estimates. Johnny Walker's parent company Diageo is buying Don Papa Rum, a luxury rum brand produced in the Philippines. And boutique hotel company Ace Group International is being sold to Sortis Holdings, which wants to more than double the number of Ace hotels to 30. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum says it can't all be about race.
Says a magazine, they get roasted for claiming that football is racist after DeMar Hamlin collapses. Listen, let me tell you something. If you walking through life and everything is about race, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be stripped of your titles and go lay down somewhere.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-372-2017. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017.
I've told you about my lower back pain and how kneeling in church on Sunday was becoming nearly unbearable. Sebastian Gorka here. I've also told you about how Relief Factor has helped almost eliminate my pain. Now, let me tell you what Robert in California says about his experience with Relief Factor. Robert writes, I didn't think Relief Factor was working until I ran out mid-month. After about 3 days, the pain was back to where it started. It was a great test for me to see how much Relief Factor really works. 3 weeks from now, you could be doing the things you enjoy doing and living the life you love. Your first step to becoming pain-free from aches and pains from daily living could be just to order the 3-week quick start for only $19.95. After trying Relief Factor, over 500,000 people have gone on to order more. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF to find out about this offer. That's relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. Feel the difference with Relief Factor.
It is 8:09. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And checking the Edens first, we see 35 minutes on the board. Lake Cook Road into the junction, Kennedy inbound. It's an hour and 20 right now from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Your jam's solid all the way in. Ike inbound is at almost an hour 30 right now from 390 into the old post office. The outbound side as well, jammed solid between Costner and First Avenue. 41 minutes out to Route 390 on the Ike. Stevenson in, it's an hour 5 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the Dan Ryan heavy and slow all the way in. It's a half hour from 95th into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and a stray shower this morning, then breezy. Afternoon high today 42. Cloudy tonight, low 34. Clouds tomorrow, the high 40. Rain and snow shower on Thursday. Breezy, the high at 40. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
39 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We talked about this op-ed from Bernie Marcus, the co-founder of Home Depot, last week. Just excellent, telling his story of being fired from his gig at the age of 49. And that's when he had this idea to open a hardware store, a lumber yard, and a garden store all in one. What you now know today as Home Depot, because he grew one store in Georgia to 2,000 locations across the country. He wrote that the Home Depot almost went bankrupt several times in its first decade, and today's policy environment would have tipped us into insolvency as it does countless entrepreneurs each year. Not only would he have not been able to grow Home Depot into 2,000 locations, Home Depot arguably wouldn't have even made it, according to him. He writes, the biggest victim of bad government policy, biggest victims, aren't the elite. They'll always be able to get into good schools and get their foot in the door of corporate America. The people hurt most by big government are those who lack advantages in becoming economically independent, and that's disproportionately minorities, which is part of the reason he founded the Job Creators Network. Our next guest is the president and CEO of said Job Creators Network, also our friend Gary Rabine Paving and other businesses here in Illinois, part of this Job Creators Network group. President and CEO, he is Alfredo Ortiz. He's got a new book, The Real Race Revolutionaries, How Minority Entrepreneurship Can Overcome America's Racial and Economic Divides. Alfredo Ortiz, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So the Bernie Marcus story is a powerful one, and before that op-ed was published, he also expressed, as much as he provided the example, he also expressed some real frustration beyond just the politicians, sort of the culture in part aided and abetted by the politicians, where people don't want to work, and he's more than a little bit exercised about that. The perspective of Job Creators Network and and what you all are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an incredible story of that Bernie shares, and I couldn't be more fortunate and honored to work for such an amazing entrepreneur and philanthropist, like Bernie. And but his story's amazing, right? Because he grew up in the tenements of New Jersey and grew up poor, and as you said, he went along the way of the corporate world and got fired at 49, but yet he had a vision, he had a dream, he had belief in himself, and he took the chance. He took the gamble. In 52, he started Home Depot with one store in Atlanta, and today 450,000 people roughly are employed by the Home Depot, and it really is an inspiring, amazing story. And I always say that really only this country can that happen. But he also says that starting actually under Barack Obama, if he had to roll out Home Depot in that environment of high taxes and high regulation, he would have never been able to do it. And unfortunately, the Democrats like doing some of these policies and not thinking about the unintended consequences. I mean, if you think of Dodd-Frank, for example, you had about 1,800 community banks that went out of business because they just couldn't deal with the high regulations that most large banks had no problem dealing with because they had the wherewithal to do that. And guess where most of those community banks went out of business? They were in communities of high minority representation.
And guess where the plumber who wants to start a plumbing business gets his financing? A community bank.
Exactly, the community bank, and forget about the small business, the small business group of the U.S. basis. I mean, that's just impossible there to get a loan. So the community banks were really so important. So we're pushing, for example, really fintech now to try to make fill the gap with those community banks that just are non-existent. And so we believe that this idea that the Democrats love pushing, which my test, but this entire book actually really started as kind of an outgrowth of testimony that I offered before the full House Ways and Means Committee last spring in a hearing on minority entrepreneurship, and it was pretty funny because the Democrat members and witnesses argued for more big government policies to overcome supposed structural racism holding minorities back. So surprise, surprise, right? Everything's about racism. Everything goes back to that. And what's that old saying, right? When the only tool you have in your toolbox is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? I mean, that was definitely in display there. And of course, I countered that reducing the hurdles to entrepreneurship by having the government do less, not more, is actually the best way to empower minorities to actually improve their economic outcomes.
It's just difficult. Guys like the CEO of Goya Foods, Robert Unanue, says the same things, and then he gets pilloried. I mean, it's amazing. This is like they're focused on minority entrepreneurship. They're focused on extending opportunities to people that don't have them, and yet then the government class comes in and says, that's just a pipe dream. You can't do this, even though it's been done clearly, and it's just a challenge to get over that hurdle. It seems where the politician is here with a check today, and the entrepreneur is here with an opportunity to build something for tomorrow. It's a tough sell for a lot of people.
Yeah, it really is. And actually, I know Bob Unanue well because I was actually a commissioner alongside with him at the White House initiative for excellence in education for Hispanics. So we actually worked together on that, and it's basically trying to make sure that we have an environment that produces positive outcomes for entrepreneurs across this country as much as possible. And so it's just a shame because whenever you have this kind of narrative coming from folks like myself, it always tries to get squashed. I mean, in fact, that testimony was actually pretty funny to watch because they said that they were troubled by the rhetoric and claimed that I was inappropriate and ignorant to argue that minorities can overcome their circumstances for entrepreneurship. Let me tell you, I grew up poor. My mom was a housekeeper. My dad was a tailor, right? We went through trash cans, right? Going through aluminum cans and newspapers, finding those, going over to the YMCA, cashing those in, and that was our grocery for the week. Yet I was ignorant and inappropriate.
Well, see, it seems to me like this is an example, it seems to me, where maybe some of these button-down business guys need to get a little bit more ornery and say, how dare you patronize me? Who the frack are you to tell me or anybody else what we can or can't do? I think there needs to be, maybe I err too much on the side of hostility, but I just think there needs to be more hostility that is directed at people who are so patronizing, who have this false notion of white man's burden or politician's burden with respect to everybody, but particularly minorities.
Well, and that is actually one of the reasons why I wrote this book, because I was actually pretty bothered walking out of that 4-hour testimony. I was the sole Republican witness, and so when I was thinking about these words, just really bothered me, because first of all, I am an actual living example of where it did help. I had two small businesses actually that I started in Atlanta. A little consulting company and a construction company. And I have to tell you, that really was able to launch my success. And I was, standing next to the President of the United States as a commissioner, like I just said, along with Bob Winan were there and others. Where else but in this country can you go from picking trash as a kid with your mom to standing next to the President of the United States? So it's unbelievable. In the book, we lay out some great data points, but I just want to highlight one, if I may. A Congressional Black Caucus Foundation study found that the median net worth for black business owners is 12 times higher than for black non-business owners. In other words, black entrepreneurs more than eliminate that racial income and wealth gaps, earning and saving far more than median white households. That's just one little fact that's in there that really pushes back on this narrative from the left that everything is about government handouts and reparations.
And recently you wrote, beside your book, you wrote an article in the Washington Times where you talked about an encounter you had with a book at an Atlanta bookstore. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was interesting, right? So they were really talking about, two women and how the real revolutionaries were, talking about LGBTQ and really pushing for that and that being kind of the answer. And, I started thinking to myself, I'm like, gosh, the answer really is about small businesses. Having spent 10 years running this organization, I've seen that. I've seen that firsthand. The majority of people that I've talked to on the road, at this point, thousands of small business owners that I've run into across the country. This is why they come here. You think about it. They flee their socialist countries. Two good friends of mine, and also great entrepreneurs themselves. One from Nicaragua, one from Venezuela. They came here with nothing, right? And they started businesses, and they had that opportunity. And that's the one thing that we also talked about. It's about equal opportunity, right? That's what I think we as a country promise. We've never promised equal outcomes. So this whole idea that the left has of the quality of outcomes, I don't even know where that comes from.
So from your perspective, what are the couple of things that really break through? What maybe there's examples from the work that you want to do on a daily basis that really pierce through and get people interested in being entrepreneurships or get them on the path to being successful entrepreneurs. What does it take that's replicable?
Well, the one thing I think that all entrepreneurs, and myself included in there, like I said, I own my two small businesses myself. It's hard work, right? Grit, belief in yourself. At the end of the day, these are the characteristics that are inherent in every entrepreneur.
But
have an idea.
Sorry to interrupt, but how do you transmit them where the concept hasn't even been introduced to some of these neighborhoods? It's not part of the K through 12 curriculum or conversation. It's not happening in some of these communities that are struggling with violence and poor schools and so forth. How do you get to the future, these next generations that are coming up and open their eyes to these opportunities you're describing?
Yeah, well, that's a great point. I think if we look in all of our communities, the heartbeat of our communities are the small business owners. So I think what I would do is I would encourage the small business owners themselves to become a more vocal force. Unfortunately, in this whole cancel culture, a lot of times they're just now afraid to speak up. But we really have to depend on our small businesses to speak out. I mean, in Chicago, for example, look how many small businesses are hurt by the crime that happens in Chicago. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, a lot of these businesses are closing up shop because they can't keep up with the crime. And it's keeping their customers away. They're losing money. They're losing inventory, right? And so they really do need to speak out because it's the government kind of, either too much government, right, or they're not doing enough to protect their small businesses, right, and to have safe communities. I mean, I always say when it's easier to get fentanyl on our streets than it is to get baby formula on the shelves of our grocery stores, we have a real problem in this country.
I wonder if this model has any application. I always think of, in this topic, I think of the Julius Rosenwald, the Rosenwald schools, where Julius Rosenwald, who is the CEO of Sears Roebuck, partnered with Booker T. Washington to build schools throughout the South 100 years ago to educate minority children in an era of government-sponsored segregation. And the success that those kids had by getting access to those schools and getting a real education that prepared them to be, independent Americans. Maybe I know they're business incubators. We have one on the west side of the city that's shown some promise. Is there more of that infrastructure that needs to be built? More of the partnership with the successful folks building incubators where the aspiring entrepreneurs can have access to the things they need to get a business off the ground? Is that something that makes sense, a model?
It really does, and it's interesting. We talk about a little bit the whole debate that happened between Du Bois and Washington here. Du Bois really becoming a major part of the socialist movement in the country, and of course Washington talking about entrepreneurialism and capitalism, really, and education being the real way of curing that racial divide. And so, but I actually think that is a great model we were talking about. And Gary Rabine, you mentioned him at the beginning of the show. He's actually a board member of ours and a good friend of mine. This is something that we need to do. And I know that in his model, that's just something that he encourages. He looks for high school students, college students, right, really encouraging them to, to be part and mentor them, to succeed. I mean, I think we really need to have more of that in our high schools. Unfortunately, that keeps getting stripped out. And so, again, I keep urging these small business owners on a local basis, on a community basis. It's wonderful that they help fund, soccer teams and little leagues and stuff like that. But having these entrepreneurship centers, work centers, where they can learn what it is to be an entrepreneur, right? Where they can even maybe help get funding for an idea. I mean, sometimes these ideas don't take a lot of money. They just need some mentorship, someone who's already been there, done that. I mean, if we can actually think of Shark Tank, I think everybody has probably seen Shark Tank at some point. If we can make that model, but make it more of an educational model on a community basis, I think we could really be onto something.
He is Alfredo Ortiz. He's the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network. His new book, The Real Race Revolutionaries, How Minority Entrepreneurship Can Overcome America's Racial and Economic Divides. Alfredo Ortiz, thanks for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Attention entrepreneurs and growth-oriented individuals looking to learn. Multimillionaire venture capitalist John Sarasani is helping the masses with his podcast that focuses on the business community. No longer do you need to sit at work each day waiting for your cost of living to go up 3% annually. Instead, give yourself a 2,000% raise and go to work for yourself. Get all the info at 2000percentraise.com, where John shares his entertaining insight and features successful business owners, celebrities, and investor guests like Tracy Tudor from Bravo's $1 Million Listing, Darren Rovell from ESPN and Action Sports Network, and multimillionairebodybuilding.com founder Ryan DeLuca. Go to 2000percentraise.com, get on the email list, and find podcast links. Or search for 2000% Raise on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or any major podcast platform. Follow @John Sarasani on TikTok and Instagram for some quick clips of the business lessons he teaches. New informative content every week. Visit 2000percentraise.com today and start working for yourself.
Gentlemen, a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to go to a provider you can trust. I recommend my friends at Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked and have been for the past 8 years. Low T Center exclusively specializes in men's wellness. They check all your levels, not just your testosterone, and determine the cause of any symptoms you're having, and whether you're a candidate for low T or something else like low thyroid or sleep apnea. Typically, their annual health assessment is completely covered by health insurance, and they check everything, including PSA, or prostate levels, as well as thyroid, liver and kidney function, cholesterol, glucose levels, and more. Low T Center has affordable and convenient options for treatment, including monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to you each month, so there's no need to come to the center each week. Make your health a priority this new year and schedule your annual health assessment at Low T Center today. It's covered by most health insurance or less than $100 cash pay. Visit lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Prof sent you when you do. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Why not Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago? The criminals won't like Willie Wilson in the mayor's office. Fighting crime is Willie Wilson's first priority. The city isn't safe. The city streets, the CTA, are not safe. Willie Wilson knows that personally.
My son was murdered. I know the anger, and I know the pain.
Willie Wilson is ready to take on the criminals. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
Spills happen every day in your workplace, anywhere gasoline, diesel, machine, crude, or cooking oils are used. These spills not only disrupt workflow production, but are hazardous to employees and the public. You need a team that can come in and clean up that spill and get your crew back to work and remove the ugly, unsightly stains. You need Cabino Environmental Field Services, an environmental response team to the rescue. Using sustainable, all-natural green products, they mitigate the spills and extract the stain from the pavement. The only byproduct is the used oil absorbent that gets recycled as a fuel source. This is one of the most economical, sustainable, and green ways to manage an oil spill. For stains on your residential garage floor, rooftop, patio around the barbecue, parking lot, or pavement around your fuel pumps, Cabino Environmental is available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Call 815-373-5176 or click on Emergency Fuel and Oil Cleanup online at CabinoEnvironmental.com.
Cold floors? The problem is probably down below in the basement or crawl space. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer with Permaseal. I'm happy to say that we can now help make your basement and crawl space warmer and therefore your upstairs more comfortable with our new product, PermaFoam. We spray this insulating foam between your floor joists, which will not only increase your energy efficiency, but will also deter insects, rodents, and is mold and mildew resistant. PermaFoam can be installed in just 1 day and is twice as effective as the old-fashioned fiberglass bats. For over 40 years, homeowners in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana have trusted Permaseal to make their homes healthier and more valuable. Call a contractor you can rely on. Permaseal. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
Your best for being better, Permaseal.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
China's population is aging and its economy is slowing. Should we care? We'll ask journalist Simone Gao at 8:38.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
8:32, 39 degrees in Chicago, and authorities right now are searching for at least 2 suspects in a deadly shooting in Goshen, California.
We definitely have suspects who came in onto the property and made it very personal.
That's Tulare County Sheriff's Office saying 6 were killed when the gunman opened fire at a home yesterday, including a teen mother and her infant child. California finally catching a break as rains that have pounded the state for the past 3 weeks are beginning to let up.
As the water recedes, it's pretty standard that the maintaining agencies will need to inspect and patrol their levees to look for any damage that may have occurred as these waters have been up against those levees for so long.
At least 8 are injured, 1 critically. They were shot during a Martin Luther King Jr. Day event in Florida on Monday.
Multiple people were shot. It sounds like from our initial investigation here on scene, there was a disagreement of some sort between two parties, and unfortunately, they chose to resolve that with guns.
Brian Hester is with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, calling the bloodshed disappointing. Cook County Sheriff's Office confirms that the remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. Cheyenne Cluse was 22 when she was last seen leaving her home in November of 2017. It's not known where or how Cluse's remains were found. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office reveals the name of the teen killed in a shooting over the weekend in Des Plaines. Justice Broadway Williams was found shot Sunday night in the 1300 block of Perry Street. The sheriff in Kenosha County, Wisconsin, says deputies opened fire on a suspect who pointed a weapon at them. The suspect is now in the hospital, and deputies are on leave as the investigation begins. Chicago sports. Blackhawks try to get back in the win column tonight, hosting Buffalo. Number 23 Illinois, a big win in the Big Ten over the Golden Gophers of Minnesota, 78-60. The news, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees a win in the House.
They have veto power on every bill. That has to do with the spending. Every decision that's made goes through the Powerful Rules Committee, and now you got 4 absolute rock-solid conservatives on that committee. What is it about Republicans we can't take a win?
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, 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 and it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy, like everybody does as they grow older. And I don't want to be tired. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about 1.5 years ago. Noticed the results immediately, and I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I'm loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
Are you growing your manufacturing team this year and need new employees? Turn to Monarch Technical Services. They've been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987. You'll appreciate their vetting process. They meet every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills. Monarch assesses experience by using blueprint, shop math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Their quality skills assessor was once a plant manager who worked on manufacturing equipment, so he recognizes who has the skills to fit each job requirement. Monarch Technical now offers a 30-day free trial with any day one direct hire. This allows you to make sure direct hire employees are fitting in before fees are paid. And they have a unique payment option which allows the finder's fee to be paid in 6 equal monthly payments. So if you're growing your manufacturing team this year and searching for exceptional talent, contact Monarch Technical Services at 847-342-1221. That's 847-342-1221 or online at monarchtechnical.com. That's monarchtechnical.com. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Nick Philippus, co-owner of Joe Donut and a proud customer of Signature Bank. We're a locally owned artisan donut shop that focuses on chef-made small batch and craft donuts. We have 7 locations around the Chicagoland suburbs, with an 8th location coming soon. After opening our original stores in Glenview and Niles, we came to Signature Bank for financing for our new Mount Prospect location. From PPP and material delays in construction, Signature Bank was flexible and truly a banking partner that a small business like ours hadn't experienced before. Even their fraud department was able to stop a $30,000 fraudulent check from clearing our account. That allowed us to focus on selling donuts, knowing Signature Bank had our back.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It's 8:38. Let's get an update on the roads now. We do that in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, and it is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows, limited commercials. Subscribe free to the daily podcast, 560theanswer.com/podcast. Inbound Eden's pushing 40 minutes from Lake Cook Road into the junction. Kennedy inbound right now. It's about an hour 20 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Taillights all the way into downtown. Ike on the inbound side, it's nearly 90 minutes from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 50 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 27 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Reagan, I-88 on the eastbound side. It's jammed right at the Aurora Toll Plaza. There is a disabled vehicle being cleared out of your way. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy, stray shower this morning, then becoming breezy this afternoon. A high of 42. Currently 39. Next news coming up at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So have reports of the Chinese Communist imminent global takeover been greatly exaggerated? In 2022, China lost population for the first time in 60 years.
Well, that's a big deal.
Its GDP growth in the fourth quarter was revised down. Its population is aging. That has been happening for some time since they pursued the ghastly one-child policy for some 3 decades, and then moved up to the 2-child policy. Not working. If that's all true, should we care? Still has 1.4 billion people, major trading partner, if you will, of the United States. I mean, other than at a human level, persecution of Uyghur Muslims and Chinese residents, generally speaking, Chinese citizens, generally speaking, at the hands of the communists. Obviously, we care about that. But should we care about China's relative standing in the world, its economic importance, if that diminishes? To help us answer that question, we're pleased to be joined by Simone Gao, journalist and host of Zooming In with Simone Gao, a current affairs program on YouTube. Simone, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So what do these indicators of, well, decline, if you will, what do they tell us about where President Xi and the Chinese Communists currently find themselves?
Yes, China's economy is in big trouble. Just like what you said, the overall GDP last year, 2022, was just at 3.2%, well below the projected 5.5%. And most people think this is caused by the pandemic and China's zero COVID policy. So after China terminates zero COVID, the economy should recover quickly. This is true to some degree, but zero COVID after zero COVID, travel, entertainment, and catering will pick up to a certain degree. But it won't lift a $18 trillion economy. I would even argue that the termination of zero COVID can only make people understand the truth of China's economy, because now you don't have an excuse to say our economy is bad. I think the real reason behind China's growth stagnation are these. First, the long-term structural problems of China's economy, namely low consumption, over-reliance on government investment, real estate, and export. And second, China's growth dividend is disappearing, just like other emerging economies, namely the population and urbanization dividend. And third, Xi Jinping's policies have wrecked several industries, including the real estate industries. And fourth, the overall geopolitical environment is becoming increasingly hostile to the Communist China. All of these things, except for Xi Jinping's own policies, are extremely hard to fix, or it cannot be fixed at all. So, for example, China has low consumption. The fundamental reason behind that is because the wealth structure of the Chinese population. In China, the top 10% of the Chinese population's net worth accounts for 68% of the total wealth, while the bottom 50% accounts for just 6.3% of total wealth. As Premier Li Keqiang said last year, China has 600 million people whose average monthly income is about 1,000 yuan. How much is that? That's roughly $145 per month. And that's you can't even afford a decent rent in the medium-sized city in China with that income.
Well, this has always been the fundamental contradiction, as it was with the Soviet Union, which is, so we have a bigger economy than China and 1/5 the population. Why? Because the government controls the means of production. People don't appreciate that China is largely an agrarian economy, and you speaks to that with the number of people that, as you say, are living on $145 in monthly income, and so those internal contradictions ultimately it spelled the end of the Soviet Union. And at the end, the death throes, it was Gorbachev pursuing the glasnost and perestroika policies in an attempt to save Russia, even Soviet Union, even though it sort of hastened its demise. Do we have the same thing in early stages in China? Because I note that there were some senior Chinese communist officials that were talking about China being a more open society. We're going to move in that direction. China is a force for peace in the world. It sounded somewhat similar to what you heard from the Soviets, about a decade before the wall came down.
That's an extremely important question. I think there's a very important understanding we need to have, and that is, whenever the fundamental motivation and goal of the Chinese Communist Party's reform and opening up is not for the benefit of the Chinese people. It benefits the Chinese people in certain period, but the fundamental goal of that reform and opening up is to maintain the communist rule. And this is made very clear not only to the Chinese leadership itself, but also to the Chinese people. So, for example, Deng Xiaoping, the previous paramount Chinese leader, had 2 reforms during the past 40 years in China, and before each one of them, Deng Xiaoping said, if we don't do reform, the party's rule is going to be jeopardized. We can't not rule anymore. And so that's the fundamental reason for them to open up. And each time, the West, especially America, heeded their request. The Chinese Communist Party would say, we will reform, we need your help. We're too backward. We want to be a democratic, or we want to be a more open society. And each time the West and America came to help China. And this is why the engagement policy came about until 1989, the American elite, even after the 1989 Tiananmen massacre, the American elite still thinks, oh, China is going to change because Deng Xiaoping said so. After 1989, Deng Xiaoping said, without further reform and opening up, our party cannot rule anymore. And President George H.W. Bush and Clinton both believed him, or pretend to believe him. So they lifted sanctions and launched this engagement policy. And China get tremendous help from America. Clinton helped China to enter WTO, and the rest
get MNF status, right? And so I mean, what in your view then? What should America be doing at this point? Should we be talking about pushing for a most favored nation status to be rescinded for China? What should we be doing without cutting off our nose to spite our face?
I think in order to decouple is needed. Because if you think about it, China is unchangeable politically under the communist rule. So, I think some people are talking about get China's WTO status revoked. I don't know about that, but for America to orderly decouple with the Chinese economy, that's very important. Just let them use their own resources and their own money to restructure their economy, and let the quality and strength of our respective institutions decide our positions in the world in the future. Not like Chinese Ambassador Qin Gang said. He said, if we view the world as a shared community, and then we have a shared future. This sound very correct. However, China has been using this excuse to take advantage of the West and America.
It's just propaganda. Yeah, it's just propaganda. Yeah. The only person who believes that is John Kerry. So with respect to where this goes, is this happening organically? What's your sense of what's actually happening there with, for example, big American companies moving their supply chains out of China? They may stay in that Southeast Asia, but they're moving to Vietnam or other places. Is that having a material impact on the Chinese economy, on the regime?
Oh, yeah, tremendously. If you think about China's economy, China relies on three things to drive its economy. Internal consumption, so just let's call it consumption, export, and investment. So if you think about consumption, like what I said, the wealth structure of the Chinese population means that China cannot have a real strong consumption because most people are too poor. And if you think about investment means government investment in infrastructure, and also, real estate investment in building more and more houses. And those two are, China has too many houses to for the people to live in. And China has so many infrastructure that many of them, a lot of them are in waste. They're lying in ghost towns. So you cannot build anymore. You cannot invest anymore. The real lifeblood is manufacturing export. And that's why, factories, Apple factories in China, Tesla are so important for China. Now they're exiting China. I think that's a huge blow to Chinese economy.
I want to go back to something that you said earlier. The reason why they lifted their zero COVID policy, wasn't it because the Chinese government was just simply running out of money to enforce it?
Yeah, that's a very, very important reason. So if you think about how much the zero COVID cost, China, the landmark thing for zero COVID is the nuclear acid testing. So China, before the zero COVID, they do like a 48-hour nuclear acid testing for all their populations. How much does that cost? That costs $243 billion a year. And that's 8% of their entire central fiscal revenue. So they could not sustain it. Yeah. And that's not even the biggest portion of the cost. And then partial lockdowns of cities cost even more. So they can't sustain that.
I tell you, they shouldn't have spent all that money on Hunter Biden. It was a big mistake. Simone Gao, journalist and host of Zooming In with Simone Gao, current affairs program on YouTube. Simone, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business's doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Be ready. Call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. See a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business. Service and installation positions available. Muscular work for thinkers. Apply at industrialdoor.com.
Start your new year off right by finally losing that weight. Schedule your consultation with NJ Diet today. Their scientific approach will ensure you lose the fat quickly and safely. NJ Diet uses your hair and saliva samples, along with their bioenergetic scans, to personalize natural solutions and supplements that balance your hormones, where the side effect is weight loss. You'll shed a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days. Then NJ Diet uses DNA testing to help you keep it off. NJ Diet is all natural, no shots, no hormones, no surgery, and no prepackaged foods. Full supervision is provided every step of the way, and you even get the doctor's personal email and phone number. With locations in Skokie and Oak Brook, or from anywhere with live online video consultations, lose 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days, guaranteed. Call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET, or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com, and lose the weight for good.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Why not Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago? The criminals won't like Willie Wilson in the mayor's office. Fighting crime is Willie Wilson's first priority. The city isn't safe. The city streets, the CTA, are not safe. Willie Wilson knows that personally.
My son was murdered. I know the anger, and I know the pain.
Willie Wilson is ready to take on the criminals. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
To register for a class or purchase a self-defense legal service plan, go to icct.us. icct.us.
You don't just want healthy snacks, you need healthy snacks. A great snack should be nutritious, delicious, and portable. That's exactly what you'll get from Fueled by AF no-bake protein-packed nut butter bites. With favorite flavor combos like chocolate peanut butter, maple pecan, fudge brownie, and chocolate chip cookie dough, your whole family will be satisfied. Fueled by AF Snacks are vegan, gluten-free, plant-based, high-protein snacks made right here in Chicagoland. More importantly, Fueled by AF fosters and cultivates a work culture of diversity and inclusion by employing the disabled. Every bite is made with love. Whether you're an athlete, need a quick bite before your next meeting, or on the run with kids, choose Fueled by AF Protein Bites and be sure to try the natural nut butter collection as well. Shop online at fueledbyafsnacks.com. That's fueledbyafsnacks.com. For a limited time, use promo code RADIO for 10% off your first order. At Inspired Closets Chicago, there's no place they can't transform. Life is busy, and an organized space helps calm the chaos and bring order to your family's daily grind. Inspired Closets Chicago takes care of everything from start to finish. From your free in-home design consultation to developing your 3D design through installation, Inspired Closets Chicago makes it easy so you can enjoy the process. Learn more at inspiredclosetchicago.com or visit one of their showrooms for inspiration. Proud sponsor of Food for the Poor.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Thanks so much for making us part of your morning. Thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Go have yourselves a glorious day. Now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
The remains of a missing Downers Grove woman have been found. Authorities have ID'd a teen killed in a displane shooting. UIC faculty going on strike. Meantime, a U.S. representative is making an endorsement in the